Part 49. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 483. Under such circumstances, how could the giant mosquito with its amazing stamina not frighten even Diodo Wu, a top star-level powerhouse? Okay. Odoa is getting farther and farther away from me, and the Earth City spaceship is waiting for me not far away. As long as I board the spacecraft will explode at the speed of the universe, and even Odoa will not be able to pursue it. Yes. We will be able to get rid of him completely and get rid of this gray-yellow star immediately. In Jia Yanfu's eyes, there was a bright light that kept flickering. In fact, he was also injured now. After all, Odoa was a real starry sky level powerhouse. As a being who had just reached the starry sky level, how could he face him in front of him? In his case, it's impossible not to get hurt at all. Now it's just a matter of holding back and not letting the injury explode. Run away. Escape to the ends of the earth. To survive. Odoa from the rear was also chasing after him urgently, but his strength had declined due to his injuries. After running for so long, Jia Yan was finally getting further and further away under his incredible gaze. Finally, more than 10 spaceships, large and small, appeared in sight. I see you. I'm going over there now, with the engine running at maximum power. As soon as I get up there, I'll start. Jia Yan said these words to Daifuni over there through the communicator. The figures one behind the other are like rapidly moving meteorites, streaking across the sky quickly. Odoa didn't believe that Jia Yan's endurance was really so terrifying, so at this moment he was still gritting his teeth and chasing after him. He had always thought that he was a strong man with extremely strong endurance, which he was proud of. But today he actually saw a newly promoted starry sky level creature, which was actually stronger than his endurance, which made him extremely uncomfortable. Huh? That's the spaceship they just snatched. Odoa's eyes flashed, and he saw a small group of spaceships appearing about 100 kilometers in front of them. Under the dark curtain of the universe, an area of 100 kilometers faces this vast land. It is simply an extremely close distance, where huge spaceships are located in the darkness, one by one hidden in the darkness. If they were not so close, it would be impossible to detect them. Of course, some people may say that 100 kilometers is not close at all. But for the universe, that is really an extremely close distance. While chasing and escaping, the two were already more than 300 kilometers away from the gray-yellow star. This place was basically a starry sky in the universe. In a vacuum environment, a group of spaceships that was not that huge was really not that eye-catching. Of course, those relatively large transport ships are still conspicuous. After all, they are only 2 kilometers in length. It is considered a giant in the Shoals galaxy. Jia Yan was quickly moving towards that direction from a distance. In a vacuum environment, wings have no effect at all. After all, there is no air here. Jia Yan is just using his brainwave power to propel himself. Although there is almost no friction in the universe, every time the speed will increase even more per second. However, Odoa's brainwave power is definitely greater than Jia Yan. Originally, he could easily catch up with Jia Yan at such a speed. But he already felt a little exhausted. So much so that I couldn't close the distance at all, but instead followed further and further away. There is no air in the universe, so there is no sound at all. Everything is like a silent movie. While chasing and escaping, Jia Yan felt the feeling of silence, which she actually liked very much. But after becoming so powerful, he rarely returned to the universe. Now that he was returning to the silent and majestic space for the first time, he felt a vague emotion. The distance of 100 kilometers can be said to be reached in the blink of an eye. After a few seconds, Jia Yan and Odoa arrived not far from the spacecraft. Fire! Don't worry about me, Jia Yan sent out brainwave power to the other side of the communicator. Originally, Jia Yan could not make the sound of brainwave power in the vacuum of the universe, but after his brainwave power reached the current level, he naturally understood, including De Funi, why other powerful creatures can pronounce sounds in space. In fact, the principle is not too difficult. The target medium for emitting sound is just other organisms. Their organs that receive audio generally receive sound feedback by receiving vibrations in the air. There is no air in space, so it is very simple. When the brain wave power reaches a certain level, that is, when it can control a small area, it can artificially create an effect similar to air vibration. In this case, a pronunciation method with a very simple principle can be formed in space through the power of brain waves. Jia Yan is now using this method to make the vibration sensor in the communicator receive the word he wants to say. And this is already the outer layer of the gray-yellow star. Those interstellar civilizations have no need to start large-scale interference here, let alone the ability to interfere with the vast starry sky for a long time. Therefore, the communication here is extremely smooth. Yes, my lord. Daphne's solemn voice came out from the other side of the communicator. Later, both Jia Yan and Odao saw that various weapons started shooting in the spacecraft captured by the Earth Army. Although commercial spaceships and transport ships are not military, they still have general-type attack weapons in order to guard against star thieves. As for defense, although they are not as good as space battleships, they are not that simple, especially those two. A huge transport ship. Because of its huge size, the possibility of a space accident is the highest. Therefore, their defense level is definitely extremely strong, especially in some aspects, it even exceeds the average 200-meter class battleship. They are De Funi. In the interstellar network, how could the target we finally found be so bad? Celebrity Spring. So when the fire started, Jia Yan felt a puff of flames in front of him for a moment, which was simply overwhelming. Two huge 2-kilometer class transport ships opened fire from the front, followed by a 1-kilometer class transport ship behind them. The rest of the commercial spacecraft, large and small, all had simple attack weapons, and some even didn't have those weapons. However, they are still distributed in other directions in the starry sky. Even if the passengers shoot with simple electromagnetic weapons in their hands, they all attack Jia Yan and the others brazenly in the direction they flew from. Jia Yan's azure body was at its peak at this moment. Originally, these attacks were generally aimed at Odao from behind, so he was not under much pressure. Odao couldn't bear these attacks anymore. Although he claims to be a being who can rival a fleet, that can only be accomplished when the right time, place, and people are right, not to mention that he himself is not famous for defense. Coupled with his injuries and exhaustion at this moment, many attacks actually fell on him. Phew. 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 Facing no fewer than 500 to 600 weapons and artillery fire of all kinds, Odao's brainwave power, which he had built up, suddenly made a sound of being penetrated. A large ball of flames enveloped Odao in the vacuum. These light weapons truly show their power in space. Odao seemed to be bathed in a sea of fire at this moment. Jia Yan took advantage of this moment and took a quick step forward. It flew into the 2-kilometer transport ship. Against the background of countless stars, huge fireworks in the sky have been blooming. The 2-meter-long figure among them was so horribly attacked that it completely disappeared. Set sail. Let's go. Jia Yang stepped into the transport ship and let out a sharp roar. Naturally, everyone in Earth City did not disobey his order at all. The spaceship groups that had been prepared for a long time spurted out flames at this moment. From stillness to movement, it only took less than 10 seconds. The spaceships with flames in their tails quickly turned around. Jia Yan even felt the powerful overload force and could hardly stand still in the transport cabin. The flames gradually died down. A figure, slightly embarrassed, appeared in the starry sky that had lost its flame reflection. Odao's eyes were sinister. At this time, his whole body was almost covered with large areas of golden light. This was the armor specially created by the Asta civilization for the strong. Under the protection of brainwave power and this armor, Odao was almost uninjured. Earth City. Assassin. His eyes became extremely sinister as he looked at the spaceships that were 100 kilometers away in an instant, and his heart was full of reluctance. What he thought was a weak opponent actually teased him in this starry sky. If this matter spreads out, his reputation as one of the 5 strongest masters in Asta will definitely be greatly damaged. Maybe it will also affect his status as one of the top 5 powerhouses. After all, the so-called 5 strong men are all praised by everyone. At least Odao knows that he is not really much stronger than some other strong men in the Asta civilization. There are some things that he has never fought personally. No one knows whether it is strong or not. So he doubted it. I, who had been seriously injured before and came to the Grey Star to recuperate, was actually humiliated like this again in this place. It is very likely that I would even lose my title as one of the top 5 powerhouses. Sir, we are here. At this moment he received a long-distance communication from the Asta battleship. Not long after, a huge aircraft carrier-class battleship with a length of 1 kilometer came to him. Carry out a large-scale starry sky index. See where they are and be sure to catch them. Odao boarded the aircraft carrier, ignored his subordinates, looked at his disgraced look in shock, and issued an order. This beautiful starry aircraft carrier shot into the sky in a short time. In the vast sea of stars, all the scenery seems to be a static and fixed screen. Only when passing near some small meteorites or interstellar dust can you realize how fast you are traveling. Jia Yan looked at the dark scenery outside through the large transparent glass of the transport ship. When he saw that there was no pursuit behind him, he finally let out a long sigh of relief. You must know that if a transport ship wants to accelerate, this speed is also extremely terrifying. After all, this is a transport ship that can carry out interstellar trade. More than 3 minutes have passed since they escaped from the area where Odao is located, and the dozen or so spaceships are constantly changing their appearance during the journey. Even if the speed at this moment has not reached 1/20th of the highest speed, the distance from the distant gray-yellow star is also an incredible distance away. Seeing a planet several times larger than the Earth from a distance, it quickly became smaller and smaller in his eyes, until it could no longer be seen clearly with the naked eye. Jia Yan was sighing and couldn't help feeling that the alien planet, the technology of human aircraft, was even more lamented that the gray-yellow star that he had been staying for so long disappeared in front of his eyes so quickly. I don't know if I will come back again in the future, but if Jia Yan thinks about it, it may really be gone. But what Jia Yan, the escapees from Earth City, didn't know was that their escape was absolutely timely. Just these 3 minutes. Something happened that made all the civilized forces on the gray-yellow star extremely angry. The bamboo horse is in another house. That was when they issued an order to seize the Earth City. All the battleships of the Rulan Empire had actually arrived at the outskirts of the Grey Star. They brazenly accepted the order and swarmed madly towards the Earth City location known from the latest order, which is where the spaceport number 5 is located, as fast as they could. The sky of City number 5. It was almost completely enveloped by the Rulan Empire fleet. But they were a step slower. Just when they arrived at City number 5 during their survey, it happened to be the moment when Jia Yan and Asta, the civilizational gunner, fought from the Earth, chased and escaped into the starry sky. And when they chased out of space again, it happened to be the moment when the Earth City spaceship shot away into the universe. Odao, you actually ignored the civilization agreement and launched an attack on Earth City. If it weren't for you, we would have caught them. The commander-in-chief of the Rulan Empire warship was furious at this moment. Issue an angry accusation against the aircraft carrier battleship opposite in the starry sky. I just came here alone to watch the battle. After the Alliance's strangulation order came down, I just took action nearby. But your Ruland civilization actually pressed the entire army so quickly, and at such a fast speed. I am curious, is there anything in Earth City? It's something that you also care about, otherwise why would you be so aggressive? Odawa, who was sitting on the command seat of the aircraft carrier, was completely unmoved by the accusations from the Ruland Empire. Instead, he was a little confused about the reaction of the Ruland Empire fleet. You don't have to worry about this. The first goal now is to capture Earth City. We don't have time to waste time with you, so say goodbye. The commander of the Ruland Empire knew that they were not making sense, and he had no time to talk to Odo at this time. Wu was grinding here, and in an instant he ordered the fleet to bypass the Asta Empire aircraft carrier and explore the stars in the universe. The reaction of the Ruland Empire is extremely strange. Please go ahead and analyze their intelligence to see why they reacted so strongly to the Earth City. According to my hunch, there must be something in it. It's the right reason. Odawa looked at the fleet of the Ruland Empire that was leaving in a hurry, and he couldn't help but feel confused when he made such a sound. Sir, we finally did it. A full 3 million kilometers northwest of the Grey Star, here is a small area of interstellar material, combined with a large amount of ice slag, meteorites, and other places. At this time, a small group of spacecraft is docked here. Daphne looked at the big Mosquito standing in front of her. The blue color had gradually faded into the inside of the exoskeleton, and she sighed with emotion. Yes, we finally did it. Now we have 3 large transport ships, plus 13 small spaceships. To be honest, when you first proposed this plan, I didn't believe it could be done at all. Now everything was successful, and it can be said that it is all your fault. Well done. Jia Yan looked at the graceful woman standing proudly in front of him and sighed. He no longer had any doubts about De Funi's ability in this battle. You must know that the arrangement of all these tasks started when the Sheriff's aircraft army attacked Earth City. The massive engulfment of the entire Golden Desert forces, the subsequent rapid integration, the attack on City Number 5, and the attack on the spaceport, all of this had been done at the beginning, and all of these things only happened in a short gray period. Huang seen within a few days. It takes less than half a month, which is equivalent to Earth time. Without superhuman tactical ability and control ability, it would be impossible to do all this. Haha, sir, you are exaggerating. If it weren't for your strong combat power, we would all be intercepted by Odawa in the end. And without you, those strong men would not be able to surrender, let alone work hard for Earth City. In my opinion, come on, this is all your fault. De Funi didn't feel overjoyed, she just smiled lightly, showing a rare sweet smile on her elegant face. She looked at the scenery outside the window. The deep starry sky seemed so mysterious and terrifying at this time. But De Funi looked at a certain direction in the starry sky for a long time, and finally said, "But this is not our ultimate goal. Our ultimate goal is to return to Earth. So from now on, we still need to make a series of backup arrangements, continue the construction of gravitational wave instruments, and start to possess this Earth army. The Earth army of the spaceship, make some arrangements and discussions." The heroic spirit in her eyes became eye-catching at this time. That's right, this is the future star journey plan. The extremely huge 2-kilometer transport ship looks like a small planet to ordinary life forms. The 2 battleships have a name respectively, that is, the Rokov and the Davier. According to rumors, the original owner of these 2 names is the name of a great warrior in the Grey Star, and the name of his partner. These are the 2 descendants of the native Grey Star people who were the first immigrants to arrive at Grey Star and plant the gray-yellow trees. They are now the largest number of so-called natives in the entire gray-yellow star. Thanks to brothers Tianyu and Tianyu for another 1W coin reward. Baiyu will break out again tomorrow. Set a rule in the future, that is, reward 10,000 coins, and it will definitely explode the next day. And this outbreak does not overlap, that is, if two book friends reward 10,000 yuan together on the same day, bulletin you will explode for 2 consecutive days. As for the explosive figures, they are all 8,000 words, and 1,000 words are in good condition. Thank you again to the book friends who subscribed and rewarded, thank you. Reborn as an Interstellar Giant Mosquito author, Bulletin U. Chapter 484. Broadcast. Pay attention to Gideon reading and get first-hand news about the 515 red envelopes. Students who have not grabbed the red envelopes after the Chinese New Year can show off their skills this time. In a battle 200 years ago, facing the attack of the Rulan Empire, Lokhoff, a great indigenous warrior, broke through the starry sky level during the battle, and then roamed the battlefield, almost reversing the war situation at that time. However, the Rulan Empire, which had greater strength, after rushing to support this galaxy battlefield, smashed the army led by this strong man into pieces, almost reaching an unsustainable situation. However, this great warrior, in the face of constant adversity, led the city residents to work tirelessly and build crude weapons. He withstood the Tathagata Empire's army for 10 years before finally sending all the warships to the Tathagata Empire at once, and under the siege of 2 Starry Sky-class reinforcements, they were completely wiped out. At that time, the person who accompanied this strong man until the end was his wife, also known as Devier. Facing countless battleships, she just gently held her husband's body, and then calmly committed suicide. It was precisely because of the resistance of this strong man that the Rulan Empire was taken advantage of by the Biochemical Empire and seized the dominance of the Grey Star. In order to commemorate these two couples, some indigenous descendants of Grey Star began to name some things, and these 2 battleships were one of them. Lulu is so scared, Kajia, have we arrived in the universe, right? Lulu remembers that her father took Lulu to the Grey and Yellow Star in a spaceship like this, but the spacecraft was destroyed. In a corner of the huge spaceship, a young rabbit-eared alien held tightly to an equally young Asta boy. Unknown creatures were coming and going around them. Under previous battles and evacuations, familiar characters have long since disappeared. How can anyone take care of 2 children in the current situation? Every life form was mobilized, with extremely excited expressions on their faces. They were obviously able to escape death. It didn't matter to them whether they came to the universe or not. What's more, acquiring so many spaceships showed that the Earth City this force will follow in the footsteps of the Starry Sky forces. This is much better than their previous secretive life in Jinmo. Hurry! Break down these materials and build houses urgently. Tear down the metal wall here and open it up. Thanks to the construction drawings prepared by Miss Delphine long ago, we don't have a trace of confusion. She is simply an excellent leader. Don't talk nonsense. The assassin is the #1 leader of our Earth City. He is a Starry Sky level who can fight Odao. Don't you know that Odao is also a powerful Starry Sky level existence? Under his leadership, we will definitely become stronger. A member of Earth City. A busy crowd passed by the 2 children quickly. Maybe some of them discovered the 2 children, but after seeing them, they turned away. After all, no one would pay attention to these children at times like this. They couldn't starve to death in the spaceship, so they didn't need anyone to take care of them. Lulu looked at the tall figures coming and going around her, and her body curled up in the corner shrank even more. In fact, they are not really that afraid of life, but the previous battle brought a greater impact to the 2 young children. One Earth City member died, and the soldiers in the spaceport were turned into charcoal, and the artillery fire after a while, the hellish scenery made them start to feel that the familiar faces nearby were a little more ferocious. When the 2 children finally stopped being afraid and were eating the cakes handed to them by a female snake star when they boarded the boat, they were in the corner. Bang 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 bang. The sound of military boots hitting the ground resounded nearby. The soldiers carrying the goods couldn't help but stop their movements and looked at the group of Earth Army running towards them. At a glance, you can tell that they are the regular Earth Army. The so-called regular army is those who have joined the Earth Army before and later became a squad leader of the Provisional Earth Army. They are the real core of Earth City. So when this group of Earth Army soldiers appeared, this group of creatures immediately stared at the past. After all, their appearance is extremely eye-catching. Lulu and Kajia also raised their heads, but when they saw the 20-odd Earth Army soldiers of different heights trotting up to them, Lulu, who was huddled in the corner, tightened her grip on Kajia in fear. The two children were extremely nervous because they had seen several times when Earth Army soldiers walked up to some seemingly ordinary passers-by and took them away, but those creatures never appeared again. "Hello, is your name Lulu?" Unexpectedly, the Earth Army officer who led the team came to Lulu's side with a cheerful look, and then squatted down. He looked at her and smiled. "Well, it's Lulu." Lulu nodded, but she was obviously still scared when she saw this formation. The two little guys crowded together, and Kajia tightly protected Lulu behind him. "That's good, come with us." The officer made a gentle gesture and reached out to hug Lulu. "Let Lulu go." Kajia quickly used his hands and feet to kick and beat her. But her resistance was obviously useless, and a group of soldiers quickly took Lulu away. "Lulu. Why?" Kajia stood alone in the corner of the spacecraft, looking towards the corner where his back disappeared, feeling extremely regretful. The two children who had been together for a long time had a better relationship than family members. They depended on each other for life, and finally they were completely separated. "I will definitely become strong enough to protect you." Kajia clenched his fist. "Lord Daphne, the girl has been brought here. Do you want us to bring her to you for a meeting?" The noodle man stood behind Daphne and said something to the back of Meoman, who was racking her brains and working at her desk. "No need, just follow my arrangement and start that plan." Daphne seemed to think for a while before she remembered who the girl the noodle man was talking about was. For the current Earth City, this matter is no longer. It was something urgent, so she just gave the order without paying much attention to it. The noodle man hesitated for a while, then followed the order and left. He knew that Daphne had too many things to worry about. As her deputy, he knew that he could not reach Daphne's level, but he should share some small things for her. Today's Earth City is really in dire straits, waiting for something new. After a great war, the city built itself from scratch and acquired such a huge fleet of spaceships. Many of these things had to be decided by Daphne, the strongest thinker, so that Daphne, a woman with full power, felt extremely tired. This fleet is really extremely large. You must know that there are only a few 2-kilometer transport ships in this shoal's planet. If it weren't for the efforts of everyone in Earth City, they were finally removed from other places in this galaxy. The mineral planet was cheated, otherwise it was uncertain whether there would be a ship in the spaceport. The most troublesome thing is the housing problem. Daphne is sitting in the office. Although she is already the #1 think tank, she is only working in a simple building at this time. This is true for the entire transport ship. Huge life forms such as Jiayan are still exposed to the eyes of each member, crawling in a concentrated area. The space is really too small. Then there is oxygen. When we searched these two transport ships, we tried our best to find those with advanced feeding equipment. However, with the existence of more than 100,000 creatures, plus those huge individuals, this is simply not enough to persist. A few days is the limit. The next step is energy. Although the energy is enough to supply 2 transport ships for several months, my idea is not just for a few months. If an effective and simple energy replenishment system cannot be formed, future goals will be impossible. Finish. There are also food, necessary equipment maintenance, etc. These are all problems that will be faced immediately. Daifune rubbed her sore forehead. She had begun to envy Jia Yan's hands-off shopkeeper. However, Earth City was what she wanted to maintain, so even if she was a little tired at this time, she couldn't let it go. After all, she had left. It's not easy to get to this point. Trouble, it's all trouble. Fortunately, I am not alone. The talents selected below are all being screened. In the starry sky, even if these people have different intentions, they cannot escape anywhere. Moreover, time can kill everything. The Earth City will eventually become the whole thing. The problem is that before that, we must work hard to survive. Daphne continued to think, and then clicked on some things on the holographic screen, and then checked some key points, and then started a busy plan. The entire Earth City is busy. For 2 2-kilometer-long transport ships, the first step is to modify them to a certain extent. The 2 transport ships are 2 kilometers long, with an average width of about 500 meters, and a height of about 200 meters. No matter from any aspect, they are 2 giants. One of them has 10 floors and is usually prepared for lighter and smaller cargo, so it is also where Earth City dispatches the most smaller creatures. The most intense construction at the moment is here. A creature is transforming the chariot and the items it brought. The height of the first floor is 20 meters. If this space is controlled well, it will not be a problem to build a multi-story building, so they are using those simple materials to carry out transformation. The only good news is that the temporarily captured 1-kilometer transport ship actually contains a lot of materials, most of which are metal products and composite materials that are in short supply. This discovery made Daifune, the decision-maker, breathe a sigh of relief. Although the owners of those goods may be in extreme pain now, their matters have nothing to do with Earth City. If they can alleviate the urgent problems of Earth City, that is Daifune's most important task. What I want to see. The next chapter will probably be 5,000 words long. I've been wanting to burst into flames these past few days, but maybe it's because I haven't slept well and I can't concentrate. I'm feeling groggy and my head is throbbing frequently, so I can't break out that much, but I still have 8,000 words. I'm extremely sorry. P.S. For those who are following the update, do you still have free appreciation votes and starting coins? The countdown to the 515 red envelope list is coming. I'm here to solicit votes, asking for extra votes and appreciation votes, and give it a try at the end. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 485. Broadcast. Follow Kidian Reading to get first-hand news about 515 red envelopes. Students who have not grabbed red envelopes after the Chinese New Year can show off their skills this time. As for the other spaceships, since most of them are for commercial use, there are not many supplies, but they can be used as relatively good small bases and liaison ships to cruise around several major spaceships. Daphne had no idea. At the beginning, she found some people in the Earth City who could operate the spaceships. In addition, when these spacecrafts were captured, there were some control members inside them, so now they don't have any control at all. Worry about the operation of the spacecraft. There are still too many problems that need to be solved, but the more important one, and the one that Mr. Giant Mosquito values most, is the problem of the gravitational wave equipment. Daphne finally added the words gravitational waves to the forefront of all matters. At the moment when Daifune was designing the future blueprint, Jia Yan was in an area of the 2-kilometer battleship. The width and height here are more than 100 meters, and the surrounding area is surrounded by a very quiet environment. Although it is still a little rough, it is already a rare place for this transport ship. Other powerful life forms were stuffed into another area like buns. They were not so comfortable anywhere. It seems that this place is definitely not a comfortable living area, and although this transport ship is already extremely large, it is still too small for the entire Earth City. You must know that this is more than 100,000 members of the Earth City. Most of them are larger than the bodies of people on Earth, and they are piled up in several transport ships. It is absolutely impossible for them to live a good life. Jia Yan heard the sound of dripping water. Maybe it was the cooling system not far away, or maybe it was really leaking. He had no way of judging. He didn't understand anything here. He didn't even know anything about alien technology. Not even as good as aliens. It's not that Jia Yan really doesn't care about the construction of the Earth Army, but at this stage, it is more important for him to learn and expand his horizons. It was only through yesterday's conversation that I finally understood Daifuni's true thoughts about the Earth City. I never thought that this woman would have such a huge change in her view of the Earth after clarifying her thoughts about the Rulan Empire. Jia Yan has always known that Daifuni has a wish for the Earth Army, but he did not expect that she has been working hard to develop this force and actually has an extremely grand idea. That is to develop Earth City and the Earth Army into a real tribe in the solar system and an assisting force in fighting. At that time, Jia Yan was a little stunned. After all, he named this force Earth City. It was just a decision made out of missing his hometown. However, he did not expect that Daifuni was really thinking about building this force into a new one. Be a defender of the Earth and even the solar system. She has completely placed her hometown on the Earth. It is correct to think about it. Although Delphini is not from the Earth in terms of blood or culture, she has been in the Earth's cultural circle since she was born. In fact, the Earth is her true hometown. After recognizing this fact, it is not incomprehensible that she would do this. Jia Yan looked at the huge metal equipment in front of him. Careful, intelligent creatures were working in front of them. Some were repairing the pipes, and some were cleaning the ground. If a transport ship wanted to be transformed into a habitable place, then it definitely can't be a simple thing. But for Earth City, this is no longer possible. Even this transport ship was obtained by them after they risked countless dangers and even sacrificed tens of thousands of lives. No one knows how many casualties the Earth Army suffered in previous battles, just like no one knows how many people fled. This is an issue that all Earth City members are unwilling to recall. Are you satisfied now? Jia Yan suddenly spoke and asked a creature in front of him that seemed to be about 1.5 meters tall. This guy is obviously a frogman, but he is very young. At this time, he heard Jia Yan suddenly make a voice. Even though the voice was as gentle as possible, it still could not calm the young frogman. He was so frightened that he almost screamed. In front of a starry sky-level powerhouse, especially the members of Earth City, in front of their absolute controller, the assassin, it is impossible for them not to be nervous. Especially this powerhouse, who seems to be moody, far less than Lady Delphine. That feeling of gentleness. Sir, I am very satisfied with the present. I used to be a spy for a small force in the Golden Desert, and I didn't have any extravagant expectations for life every month. But when I came to Earth City, now I can get such a job. They tell me that I won't have to be responsible for fighting in the future, which makes me very satisfied. The frogman spoke hesitantly, but it could be seen that these words came from his heart. Life in the Golden Desert is definitely not a good life. Although Earth City just launched a bloody suppression and dispatch battle just after capturing people from other forces, in this situation, if they can't see the future prospects of Earth City, that's a fool. In addition to the gray-yellow stars, do you know what other famous places there are in the Shoals Galaxy? Jia Yan continued to ask. In addition to the gray-yellow star, there are actually some small mineral stars in this galaxy, as well as some interstellar institutions. There are even some places that may be more prosperous than the gray-yellow star. Although I don't know the strong man Jia Yan, why do you ask this kind of knowledge that basically everyone knows? But the frogman still answered respectfully. Very well, go to work. Jia Yan nodded, then lowered his huge head down, as if he fell asleep directly, and seemed to want them, the workers, to have a more relaxed working environment. The frogman breathed a sigh of relief and quickly returned to work. Jia Yan didn't care about the attitude of his frogman. He already knew that he had reached the level of a powerful person who could be rare in the entire starry sky. When other life forms looked at him, it was impossible for them to look at him as they did before. That sense of a mosquito. So I didn't care about their excessive respect. Earth City is busy with its own affairs, and it is not as busy as usual. Because of the subsequent arrangements, Delphine also told me that she will work hard to continue building gravitational wave equipment in the stars, and will also continue to modify these spacecrafts. Fortunately, she has recruited many second-rate scientists or science enthusiasts to Earth City before this. At this time, these characters can still play a huge role. And my mission is not to help or anything. After all, I know nothing about these things. What I have to do is to cultivate well and restore my strength to prepare for possible battles in the future. In the previous battle, I was mainly chased by Odawa for a period of time, and I suffered some injuries. Especially some injuries on the front feet and rear. These injuries are more troublesome. Jia Yan still didn't move much, which made the workers think that he was really asleep. However, he used his brainwave power to check his body slightly and found that his injuries were far worse than he had guessed before. Much more serious. You must know that these injuries were caused by a famous strong man in the stars. It is already a miracle that Jia Yan can escape under his attack. No matter how serious the injury is, it is not a strange thing. What I need now is more advanced nutrient solutions, but it seems that there are a lot of these things in the trophies that Daphne collected along the way, so let's use them to repair them next. Furthermore, Daphne has also said that my body actually has some potential for improvement. She can conduct some research on my body characteristics through those biologists. What they are currently conquering is my long-range attack. If I can get a breakthrough, my long-distance attack method that has always been weak will be available. Jia Yan sorted out his gains and losses in the battle, as well as his exposed shortcomings, etc. He didn't know how much time had passed. When he refocused his eyes on the things in front of him, he found that the scenery in front of him was already there has been a change. The emergency paint gave the place a shiny feel, the old pipes were repaired, and the ground became brand new after stain removal work. Although it has not reached a state of exquisiteness, it is much better than the simple and metallic smell before. At least Jia Yan feels that it is not impossible to stay in this place for a longer time. And this kind of work is carried out in many places on the transport ship. Daphne has done a great job, but I can't stay here anymore. Jia Yan stood up. After staying in a place that was too small for his current body for too long, Jia Yan had the urge to breathe a sigh of relief. Not long after, the largest cargo hold of the transport ship opened. In the starry sky outside, there is an absolutely dark scene. Spaceships, large or small, guard the huge transport ship where Jia Yan is located, as if they are the guards guarding the king. Jia Yan gently released his brainwave power, and then his body floated lightly. Jia Yan found that his body only needed a small amount of strength to fly compared to the previous starry sky period in the solar system. After all, there is no air in space, and the resistance is basically zero, so it only takes a small amount of effort to make him fly. Jia Yan did not spread his wings this time. After all, there were spaceships and other things around him. If he spread his wings and accidentally touched them, they would suffer. It's Lord Assassin. Long live Lord Assassin. In each spaceship, due to the good view of the commercial spacecraft, the members of the Earth City who were riding in them all let out shouts of surprise. The big Mosquito seemed to hear the shouts of the members, and turned to look at these members with a very friendly look. Then it's time to spread your wings. Soar among the stars. His figure is so charming, every muscle and every structure seems to be a natural work of art born for strength. The members were all fascinated by it. Jia Yan found that he had not been in a weightless environment for a long time, so that his body was actually not adapted to such an environment. To others, his flight might seem like lightning and thunder, but he knew that his flight was not as good as before. This is also inevitable. Jia Yan's previous stay in space was before several mutations. Now that his body has undergone extremely powerful changes, it is inevitable that he will not be able to adapt to the starry sky again. Anyway, we are still staying in the asteroid belt. Taking advantage of this period, it is also the time for me to repair my body and retrain my sense of space flight and space warfare. Jia Yan knows that he cannot fight inside the planet forever, especially since Earth City has come to the universe. Instead, most of the battles he will face in the future may be cosmic battles. So he wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to at least get familiar with the feeling of space flight. Between the small meteorites, huge bodies are constantly flying and colliding. Suddenly, a huge cloud of smoke and dust erupted from a meteorite with a diameter of about 100 meters. Everything was like a silent movie. The sound caused by the collision was not released, but dust rose into the sky, and some matter spread into the starry sky and flew into the depths of the universe. Jia Yan was lying on the surface of the meteorite in embarrassment. After his collision, the meteorite behind him also changed its trajectory. Maybe it will not be long before it collides with other meteorites around him, and it is not known whether it will cause a chain reaction. What bad effects will it have on the asteroid belt here? But at this time, these things are indifferent to Jia Yan. In fact, he has done similar things several times. We have been in contact for dozens of hours, but we are still unable to pass through this asteroid belt while maintaining a speed of about 50 times the speed of sound. Jia Yan climbed up from the surface of the asteroid a little discouraged, his compound eyes filled with a strange luster. He couldn't figure out how his control ability could completely lose control when he reached 50 times the speed of sound. Especially when passing through the asteroid belt, his flexibility dropped by an unknown number of times. And that natural feeling never appeared again, making him look extremely embarrassed every time he hit an asteroid. If it were in a vacuum environment without any obstacles, Jia Yan found that because there was no obstacle in his body, he could continue to accelerate. How strong the brainwave power was, how far he could accelerate, and even reach a terrifying level. Degree. However, Jia Yan has not actually tested it, because it would be too far away from the fleet and he would not be able to return by then. That would be the funniest joke in history. Okay. Try again. Just when Jia Yan wanted to continue the drill. Lord Giant Mosquito, we have discovered 10 unidentified spaceships. Judging from the situation, they may be star thieves. Come back quickly. Daphne's voice came from the communicator. Star thief. A look of confusion flashed in Jia Yanfu's eyes, and then he realized that this was the star thief that the young frog had told him before, right? Robbing other people's property and using it for one's own development and expansion looks a bit similar to our Earth City. Jia Yan is also very curious about the existence of star pirates. He did not expect that alien civilizations would actually have forces similar to those in science fiction movies on Earth. However, it is not surprising to think about it. They are so gray and yellow. Forces that all major civilizations want to capture, driving some unfamiliar spaceships, can hide in this starry sky, making several major civilizations unable to find them. Those star thieves who are already familiar with the starry sky can easily hide in the starry sky. It's easy to rob while avoiding official forces, right? After all, this universe is too big. In a place as big as a gray-yellow star, several major civilizations are fighting to the death, and there is no way to fully achieve a result, let alone the starry sky. Jia Yan put away his thoughts of continuing training, activated his brainwave power, and his body turned into a beam of lightning, shooting towards several large spaceships in Earth City in the dark vacuum. Listen to the fleet over there. According to the old rules, you must pay us currency tax. Otherwise, we can attack you, an arrogant voice appeared on the public communication channel. Daphne is riding in the command cabin of the largest transport ship. Everyone here is busy here. Members of the Earth City who may have been from Earth City before or may be members of the original transport ship have solemn expressions at this moment and are constantly carrying out, doing various surveying, mapping and intelligence calculations. Their model may not be a battleship, but it has some modifications, so its combat capabilities are much stronger than the firepower we have here. Through calculation, an intelligence officer gathered the data he obtained on the holographic screen in front of Daphne. Daphne listened to the tactical analysis of her subordinates. In fact, she felt a little blind when it came to space warfare. But at this time, she had to take charge of the overall situation, because there was no one except her. Others can do it. I don't have much experience in this area, you can express your thoughts, Daphne said. Sir. When our caravan encountered star thieves in the past, we always accepted our fate and gave them some supplies or money to be released. Now we can do the same. A former transporter who seemed timid and afraid of getting into trouble, the ship members, after looking at the other Earth City members, spoke. Asshole, how could our Earth City bow its head and admit defeat to these fools and dogs? Sir, I suggest that they be completely eliminated. Otherwise, even if we give them materials and money, when they know that we are the force that several major civilizations want to capture, they will definitely betray us. Another Earth City member made a fierce fighting sound at this moment. After all, the members of Earth City are all members of the former Golden Desert. They are all extremely aggressive. Now that they regard themselves as real members of Earth City, they are all very dedicated to maintaining Earth City. We can't win. After all, this is the universe, and your fighting power can't have a big impact at such a long distance. But the other party's firepower can spray towards us. If you decide not to hand over the money, then my opinion is to run away quickly. The opponent's distance has not yet reached the optimal shooting distance. If you choose to run away, they may not be able to pursue you. 2 updates of 8,000 words are over. My head hurts so much, otherwise I would have exploded to 10,000 words. I'm sorry everyone. PS for those who are following the update, do you still have free appreciation votes and starting coins? The countdown to the 515 red envelope list is coming. I'm here to solicit votes, asking for extra votes and appreciation votes, and give it a try at the end. Mobile version. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 486. Welcome, please remember the address of this website, so that you can read the latest chapter of the novel Rebirth of the Giant Mosquito in the Starry Sky at any time. Latest report tomorrow is 515, the anniversary, the day with the most benefits. In addition to gift bags and school bags, you must check out this 515 red envelope binge. There is no reason not to grab the red envelopes. Set your alarm clock. The former transport ship driver kept emphasizing in his words that Earth City could not win. He's probably right. On the Earth City side, someone finally had to agree with what the other party said. After all, compared with them, the gap between the Star Thieves and them is too big, and it is impossible for Earth City to exert the fighting power of the strong in a vacuum. The other party can fire at them from an extremely long distance. In this case, each strong person seems to have become a decoration. Let's run. There's no shame in running away for the first time. Daphne was sitting in the captain's seat of the transport ship. She looked at the light screen in front of her and made a decision. This can also be seen in the relationship between her and Jia Yan. Rather than being superiors and subordinates, it is more correct to say that the two have a cooperative relationship. She has tremendous autonomy. But I still need to report to Jia Yan. Mr. Giant Mosquito, I decided to run away because we are still unable to defeat this group of star thieves. Listening to the voice in the communicator, Jia Yan was not too surprised. After all, he has long seen the combat effectiveness of the transport ship. It may be much more powerful than ordinary commercial spaceships, or those aircraft, but compared with spaceships that actually have combat capabilities, it is a bit unsatisfactory. Okay, I'm almost close to the transport ship. Open the hatch and I'll cover you for a while before entering the ship. The giant Mosquito was galloping in the illusory vacuum of the universe. The surrounding vacuum environment gave him an unreal feeling. The Earth City fleet approaching in front seemed like the kind of movie that can only be seen in science fiction movies on Earth. The picture is like a dream, and the emotions are simply indescribable. Especially now that he heard Daphne say that a fleet of star pirates was coming to attack, this made Jia Yan feel like he was seeing Star Wars. I haven't seen the figure of the Star Thief over there yet. Obviously they are still very far away, even so far that I can't detect their appearance. Space warfare is definitely different from ground warfare on the planet. What I need to learn, it seems there's still a lot. Jia Yan approached the transport ship at high speed. But just as he was about to reach the first transport ship, a bright light shot out from the distant sky. This is an inconspicuous light, and it doesn't seem to be very powerful. But how could Jia Yan, who had been extremely vigilant for a long time, let them hit his own spacecraft? Jia Yan rushed towards the direction of the light. The speed of light is extremely fast, although it is not as terrifying as the speed of light. But it definitely exceeds the attack speed of those electromagnetic weapons on the ground. These interstellar civilizations have carried out many weapon modifications, but they still cannot convert their weapons into light energy. Although light energy weapons that travel at the speed of light have long appeared in these civilizations, the power of lasers is too weak, especially when facing those in the case of interstellar spaceships or battleships. Pure light energy cannot cause major damage. Therefore, in the weapons system of interstellar civilization, some extremely fast weapons that cannot reach the speed of light are still used as the main means of attack. Jia Yan was facing similar attack weapons at this time. When he saw the light shooting out from far away in the sky, there was no time to resist the moment in front of the light. A beautiful light struck his body. Jia Yan only felt that his body was completely swallowed up by the light. His entire body was warm and lit up with extremely high brightness. His body may have reached a terrifying 10,000-degree temperature at this moment. Fortunately, he had even tried the military's battleship main gun, facing this light. It's just a small meaning. At this moment, the azure blue flashes in the body of the big Mosquito, which completely blocks the light. However, the attacks from the front continued, and beautiful rays of light came. Jia Yan finally fully activated the azure color all over his body. He resisted these lights to the greatest extent. The Earth City fleet behind them has begun to slowly turn around and accelerate. The propellers of the commercial fleet meant that they would not be able to start very fast. This is also the essential difference between them and battleships, so that at this moment, each of these hulls is like a living target, and can only withstand attack firepower unilaterally. As soon as Jia Yan shined, there was no damage, but the energy that had not been restored now felt a little depleted. But he didn't think too much and returned directly to those attacking lights again. Constantly helped the rear fleet to intercept. Finally I saw it. When Jia Yan discovered that the opponent's attacks were becoming more and more precise, he finally saw their true form. They were 10 ships that were not very huge in appearance, and the distance was finally close to within 100 kilometers, so that both sides could easily see each other's figure. These so-called battleships, you can tell by looking at them, are not regular battleships, but are patchworked here and there, with patch-like things placed on the surface, making the weapons look a little more powerful. The weapons are fired by main cannons. The attack of these main cannons has reached the level of a regular army's 200-meter class warship. After all, these things are absolute weapons in space warfare. Even if these star thieves cut down on clothing and diet, they are still you must get these things, otherwise you won't be called a qualified star thief at all. You guys retreat quickly. I'll resist here for now. Seeing the opponent's speed reaching full speed and approaching a distance of about 100 kilometers, Jia Yan shouted at the communicator. The Earth City spaceship tried to evacuate more quickly, but during this period they were still hit by some artillery fire. Although the defensive energy film withstood most of the attacks, under such circumstances, there were still two small commercial spacecraft. The attack hit the back, sending out plumes of smoke. No matter how powerful Jia Yan is, he is still not a powerful starry sky beast, and he is not even a strong person in the starry sky level. He just had a strong defense and resisted attacks again and again, but he couldn't defend against them all. The Earth City fleet was quickly evacuating, and Jia Yan's outstanding performance also made the other star thieves feel extremely amazing. At this time, one of these star thieves felt that Jia Yan, a strong man, might be a new strong man in the gray-yellow star, because such strong men are usually sent by the official forces of the starry sky civilization. It doesn't matter whether he is an official or not. As long as we kill him and no one knows about it, there will be no problem in the Star Pirate's ship. A tall monster licked his feet like a huge stick. The lollipop object makes a sad sound. That's right, the Starry Sky class is nothing. In the Starry Sky, only battleships are king. Even if it is a powerful Starry Sky class, without the support of supporting battleships, its combat power is not a threat to us at all. That's right. Don't get too close. Kill the monster first, and then catch up with the fleet. With such a huge fleet and a Starry Sky level guard, it's obviously something good. A famous star thief made a greedy voice in the ship. But, I always feel that the Starry Sky class seems to have been heard of somewhere. The star thief leader looked at the virtual screen, the blue mosquito that was constantly blocking the star thief's attack light, and was confused for a moment. Meditation. But after much deliberation, there was no answer, so the monster gave up. The star thieves attacked even more frantically, but they did not directly attack Jia Yan. They had seen or heard about the power of a Starry Sky level powerhouse many times. In the Shoals galaxy, some star thieves had also died under the attacks of gray-yellow Starry Sky level powerhouses. Therefore, they did not dare to get close, but used 50 kilometers as a limit. This distance could maximize their attack power. Jia Yan couldn't explore this area and could only be beaten passively. The 10-star pirate ships are like ghosts. One of them is only about 100 meters in size, and the smaller one may be about the same size as Jia Yan. This shows that the creatures in them are not very powerful, but now they are fighting a Starry Sky level monster. This sight made all the Star Thieves members excited. You must know that it is a Starry Sky level. These guys are actually attacking like this. Jia Yan looked at the attacks coming from about 50 kilometers away, and he was extremely frustrated. If he were in the atmosphere, his speed might attack them in an instant. After all, as a flying speed, he could reach or even exceed 50 times the speed of sound. It only takes a few seconds for him to reach the opponent's area. But this place is in the universe. Jia Yan's previous flight training was not enough to practice space warfare. At this time, Jia Yan only needed to use his flying speed, but he was unable to be flexible. By the time he got close to the opponent, those relatively flexible star thief ships had already left the place. Make him anxious but unable to hit. Something is wrong. Jia Yan's heart sank when he found that he had withstood an attack and used his front feet to block it. The cracks in his front feet that had already cracked during the battle on the gray-yellow star became even bigger. If they were in good condition, Jia Yan could resist these warships for a long time, but it is simply impossible now. If he continues to block the opponent, he himself may be seriously injured or even killed. What was even more ominous was that Jia Yan discovered that 5 of the 10 Star Thief warships gradually gave up their attack on him, bypassed Jia Yan, and pursued the Earth City fleet behind them. This is the universe, and everything is empty, but there is no reason why one man can't block it, so Jia Yan can only focus on it at this time, without any solution. Earth City's fleet still hadn't accelerated. The star thieves chasing after them carried the inertia of flight, but their speed was several times that of Earth's fleet. All of a sudden, the distance between the two sides was extremely close. The situation is critical. Just when Jia Yan was furious and wanted to unleash all his strength, he rammed his body at the 5-star pirate ships that were attacking him. An extremely bright brilliance came from a place no more than 200 kilometers away from the battle between the two sides, and it shot hard. This ray of light was not very powerful, but it was extremely accurate. It hit the first star pirate ship that wanted to pursue the Earth City transport ship. However, the star thief ship was on defense, so it was not destroyed on the spot. Instead, it fell upside down and became fragmented. After all, the star thief ships focus on attack, and their defense is not that strong. The transport ship on the Earth City side was smart when seeing this scene, and quickly launched a light attack. The damaged star pirate ship suddenly burst out with dazzling light and turned into dust in the universe. Well done. Jia Yan cheered secretly in his heart, and then his eyes flickered slightly. Looking towards the distant sky, I saw in that direction, a 200-meter class battleship that I had never seen before, floating alone in the starry sky. However, through the muzzle of the opponent's main gun, which was still shiny, it was known that it was the opponent who had fired the life-saving blow. This gave the Earth City fleet a chance to breathe. However, there are no other ships around this battleship. It just appears here alone, which is very strange. Which civilization's warship is that? Maybe it doesn't come from a certain civilization. It's a warship that was strayed from a star thief, right? Such things are actually not uncommon. After all, there are many channels to buy warships from these civilizations. Jia Yan looked at the battleships assisting him and felt extremely grateful. If it weren't for the other party, then they would be in a worrying situation. Suddenly, the battleship burst into attack light again. Although the opponent's attack was not overwhelmingly powerful, the accuracy of the attack was extremely terrifying. This attack once again hit a star pirate ship, but it did not explode the ship, but caused it to be stunned for a moment. Shaking, and then barely surviving under the protection of protective energy. Check it quickly. Which force does the warship over there belong to? How dare you come to destroy our good deeds? It's simply unreasonable. On the Star Thief command ship, the tall monster kept licking the lollipop and yelling with great anger. Boss, the other party refuses to accept our communication request. You bastard, this battleship should not be underestimated. Not only is its equipment level higher than ours, the accuracy of its attack is also beyond our comparison. It may even be the helper of this caravan, so retreat. The monster licking the lollipop finally rolled his eyes and gave the order. After all, as a star thief, they would run away if they couldn't beat him. There was no shame in them doing such a thing. Yes. A famous star thief became confused. Some are in contact with other warships, and some are planning a retreat route. Although their performance seems to be careless, their performance at the moment is not much worse than the regular soldiers of the great civilizations of the Gray and Yellow Star. That's right. I remember where I saw this guy before. The Star Thief leader seemed to be excited, and he heard Jia Yan's influence before. This guy is actually the so-called assassin who has been causing trouble in the Gray-Yellow Star these days. So what is behind him is the transport ship he snatched from the Gray-Yellow Star. Unlucky. It is actually them. Maybe their supplies, including ours, nothing compares to it. It's full of damn golden desert creatures. After the leader knew Jia Yan's identity, he immediately felt extremely unlucky and continued to order his men to leave quickly. Not only did they not capture anything in this battle, they also lost a battleship. This was the fortune he had worked hard to scrape together. Now that he lost one of them all at once, it made him extremely distressed. Of course, it's not that he doesn't look down on the current things in Earth City, because even if they are all members of Earth City, they are not worth much, and even a subsequent battle may cause huge casualties. But if they can really be attacked, the hulls of those ships alone can be sold for a lot of money. But the problem is, when the rescue ship arrives, they can't defeat Earth City at all. Bad luck. What bad luck. Thinking of this, the leader of the Star Thieves looked back in great depression. Although the opponent could withstand their attacks, they could not stop them from getting out of the battle. At this moment, except for the ship that had exploded into cosmic dust, outside the ship, all the warships under his command were out of the battle. Humph. You guys release news to several major civilizations and report the location of Earth City. We don't want any reward. Just be that disgusting so-called assassin. The Star Thief leader roared viciously. Naturally, he did not dare to ask for a reward. After all, their status was sensitive. If they dared to ask for a reward, if the Earth City could panic or even be destroyed, then his tone would be relieved. The war came and passed quickly. Even many members working in the Earth City fleet only heard the siren, and then the world started spinning and debris scattered everywhere. After that, these movements disappeared. Many beings are unable to detect what is happening. Just know something big is definitely happening. This level of shaking is unlikely to occur randomly even for a transport ship. It only shows that the ship is traveling at an extremely high speed to make it possible. The alarm has been lifted. Everyone is frightened. Please return to your respective jobs. The sound of clearing the alarm echoed inside each ship, making all the members heave a sigh of relief. And on the Devier, a transport ship that serves as a temporary command ship, there is another sole figure in Earth City besides Jia Yan, and that is De Funi. She looked at the greatly enlarged 200-meter warship on the holographic screen. There was no sign of any civilization marked on it, because the interstellar unification meant that the country was not unified, but all civilizations had unified technology-related things. To such an extent, Daphne could not analyze the identity of the other party from the appearance of this battleship. But the other party saved us after all. We should go to Shiyuan to express our gratitude and request to connect to their communication equipment. I will personally thank you. De Funi frowned. No. Sir, the other party refused, the Earth City soldier in charge of communications responded strangely. You actually refused. What does this mean? De Funi was stunned. As if in response to De Funi's question, the 200-meter warship, which was no more than 100 kilometers away, slowly retreated under the watchful eyes of all ship observation systems in Earth City. The distance became farther and farther, and then completely disappeared from the detection system. Middle. Well, it's a little late, sorry. P.S. It's raining red envelopes on 5.15. Starting from 12 noon, you will grab one round every hour, and a big wave of 515 red envelopes will depend on your luck. You all go grab it and continue to subscribe to my chapters with the coins you grab. Reborn as an Interstellar Giant Mosquito author, Bulletin U. Chapter 487. Genius remembers love mail sign go divided by Xiao. Talk rightward arrow net in 1 second to provide you with wonderful novels to read. The appearance of this battleship did not seem to ask for anything in return, it was just to help others, and it did not want to leave its name. There are so many strange guys in the stars. But forget it. They don't want to show up, so let's not pursue them. Get out of here quickly. God knows if those star thieves will come back and attack again. Following De Funi's order, the Earth City fleet finally erupted into flames. At the same time, a huge figure turned into an extremely fast dark after image, turned around, and entered the transport ship with the door open. Soon, the hatch of the transport ship closed. The speed suddenly increased to a limit. With a tail of bright flames, it disappeared into the nearby star field. The battle area, which was originally raging with war, suddenly became quiet. In the vast and uninhabited starry sky, only the fragmented remains of the Star Thief warship were left, indicating that a starry sky war had once occurred here. But not long after, a huge fleet consisting of more than 30 large and small warships appeared in this star field. Their fleet logo has the shape of a flower, which shows their identity as the Rulan Empire battleship with extremely powerful power in the Shoals galaxy. You bastards, they actually escaped again. If only the information about those star thieves had been given to us earlier. After unwillingly hovering in place for a long time, the fleet seemed to have found the right path, and finally started quietly, pursuing the direction away from Earth City in the starry sky. The universe is always a mysterious and scary place. There are no exceptions to this even among aliens who can gallop in the sea of stars. Jia Yan no longer remembers how long it has been since he left the brilliant star. There is no good reference in the Shoals galaxy for Jia Yan. He doesn't know how far he has left the gray star. He only knows that Dave Filoni's daily reporting work continued as usual. In fact, the other party was trying his best to explain what he didn't understand, but Jia Yan was still a being from a lower civilization. It's really hard to understand a lot of things. Sir, our ultra-small hadron collider has been installed, and this is part of the gravitational wave theory. I thought Oro's gravitational wave instrument was not very complicated before, but those cosmologists told me that it is obviously a wrong understanding. Oro's gravitational wave theory is very complicated. If they cannot find some verification from the Hadron Collider, those scientists will not be able to copy it based on the drawings and theories. Daphne said helplessly. Although she is somewhat familiar with things on passenger planes. But after all, he is just a biochemical man who was born and grew up on the Earth. It is normal for him to be unable to intervene in the truly cutting-edge interstellar civilization technology. Next, Dave Filoni reported everything about the gravitational wave instrument to Jia Yan in detail, because she knew that this was what Jia Yan wanted to know most, but whether Jia Yan understood it, she didn't think so much about it. As for the terms being spoken, Jia Yan was confused. What Dave Filoni said is not to deal with me, but the construction of gravitational wave instruments has reached an extremely important step, right? It is a pity that the previous research institute at the original site of Huangzhou Earth City was destroyed. Otherwise, now there is no need to go back to the old path. Jia Yan was very regretful. Through the few words described by Daphne, he summarized the meaning of the words. That is, the gravitational wave instrument may not be built in the near future, and the materials in the Earth City fleet are extremely scarce. If there are no special instruments and tools, the construction project will be greatly extended, or even delayed for several years or even 10 years. Possible. Sir, I heard from the original transport ship members that there are some large-scale starry sky creature settlement trading points nearby. We can try to trade in those places. If we are lucky, not only can we solve the problem of the gravitational wave instrument, but also the ship. Some of the items in short supply in the team can be easily purchased. I wonder if adults think this is feasible. Dave Filoni finished reporting the matter. Asked for Jia Yan's opinion. She didn't have any other thoughts about Jia Yan's delegation of power. In fact, Dave Filoni had already discovered that the big Mosquito might not really have any idea of controlling the power of this Earth City, but wanted to be powerful on the road of personal power. Superior. Go further. Of course, as the person who probably knows the most about the potential of the giant Mosquito in the universe, Daphne has enough reasons to believe in the future prospects of the giant Mosquito. You know, she is equivalent to looking at the big Mosquito in front of her and starting from a slightly different angle. The bigger Mosquito grew into the super monster that can look down on the battleships of interstellar civilizations. The time spent in this process is less than 2 years in Earth time. The improvement speed is simply unbelievable, even compared to the powerful people known from the Rulan Empire documents that Daphne has read. I don't know how many times faster. Therefore, Daphne has reason to believe that this big mosquito can definitely reach the level of power that he wants to achieve. And since Daphne has been willing to become his ally, what she can do is, under such circumstances, try to provide convenience for him, and maybe he can also enjoy the treatment of having a super strong person behind him to protect him in the future. As for the super strong man, is he an extremely powerful starry sky level, or a legendary strongman stellar level that does not exist in the entire civilization Empire Starfield, which is also the rumored starry sky beast? Daphne didn't dare to guess about this matter. She felt that Big Mosquito had enough potential, but it was an unprecedented thing, and she still didn't have much confidence. Biological settlement? Is there such a place in the universe? Jia Yan was stunned. In fact, he had heard similar rumors before in the Grey Star, but now that he actually felt this thing, the feeling was different. The so-called biological settlements, in the eyes of the creatures in the Golden Desert, are places that are not much more advanced than the Golden Desert. However, when they talk about the forces in the stars, they will be full of envy. There is no other reason. These star forces are generally extremely powerful. Most of them have simple assembled warships, and they are difficult to destroy in battles with major civilizations. After all, the universe is too big. Even in the Shoals galaxy, they are familiar with the journey to the stars. Even if you can't defeat them, you can still retain your fighting power by just finding a place to hide. I think it's feasible. After all, there are too many things we need to add. But we must pay attention to safety issues. The fleet can't appear in the eyes of these forces. Jia Yan pondered for a while and nodded. Agreed. After all, the Earth City is in ruins and waiting for something new. A huge force has just captured a large number of spaceships, and also wants to transform the fleet into residential ships. The materials required for this are actually not a small amount. If you can't trade with other forces, you can only rely on Earth City itself. It is simply impossible to reach the level of interstellar voyage. After all, if you want to do that, it will be an extremely difficult thing to solve the lives of more than 100,000 people. Okay, Daphne breathed out a long breath. She was very glad that although Jia Yan showed great incomprehension about alien technology, at least he did not hinder her from doing the right thing. In fact, he is currently living in a human transport ship. There were already many things that couldn't wait to be solved, but Daphne didn't say them out loud. Thinking that she had finally figured out the direction to go next, Daphne finally brought up the next topic she wanted to talk to Jia Yan. Sir, there is one more thing I want to report to you. That is, for your strengthening design plan, those biologists have already given 3 drafts, and I have brought them with me this time. Please take a look. Daphne clicked on the holographic screen, and with a movement, the holographic screen expanded to several meters in radius, making it easier for the huge mosquitoes to view it. Huh. This is their idea of strengthening me, it's some equipment. Jia Yan glanced at the holographic screen, and then his compound eyes suddenly flashed. It turned out that what appeared on the holographic screen were 3 different design sketches, and it turned out that the biologists invited by Daphne, they all thought of using technological equipment to strengthen the giant mosquitoes. It's normal to think about it. Among the strong people Jia Yan saw, even the most powerful beings in Jin Mo were short of funds. They can all create some equipment that suits them, and each piece of equipment can improve the combat effectiveness of that creature to a certain extent. All 3 plans appeared on the screen and were worn on a virtual big mosquito. The first one is a special weapon with a reinforced metal package in the forefoot. Data is marked on it. Not only is the front foot covered with metal, but also the entire front end of the giant mosquito's body. All have some defensive structures. This is a design that focuses on economy and standard enhancement. The second item is a cannon mounted on the head of the giant Mosquito, and the model is also marked. It is a light electromagnetic gun that can be disassembled from the transport ship. It can be said to be extremely simple and convenient. The third one is a bit interesting. The design of this one seems to have taken a lot of thought. When Jia Yan saw him, it even brought back some long-lasting memories. This is a luxurious design that wraps up the giant Mosquito's huge body. The reason Jia Yan's eyes lit up when he saw it was because this piece of equipment looked very similar to the metal exoskeleton he had asked the two killers to build for him before on Earth. "Sir, let me introduce it to you." Seeing that Jia Yan seemed to be quite interested in these designs, De Funi said with a smile. After all, if Big Mosquito can increase her fighting power, it will be good news for her. Both sides are grasshoppers tied to a rope. Jia Yan's strength is indirectly her strength. First of all, the first set of equipment is a simplified set of equipment, but despite its simple shape, its design still has a certain degree of uniqueness. Biologists can increase the attack power by strengthening the metal defense level of your forefoot. And it also has some extremely expensive super alloy designs. Even after you blew it, it does not affect the superimposed strength. This is definitely a good enhancement for you. Regarding Jia Yan's azure defense, De Funi and the biologists could not imagine that it was a phenomenon of evolved beasts. Only De Funi understood this, but those alien biologists understood that every time the big mosquito when he becomes blue, his defense and even combat effectiveness can be greatly enhanced, so this first enhanced equipment was designed according to his combat style. The second set of designs can solve the biggest weakness of long-range attack methods for you. You must know that every Starry Sky level expert will actually face the problem of weak long-range attack methods. Just like you have fought before Odawa, he did not carry all his equipment that day, so that he could not launch a long-range attack on you. If he had carried a long-range attack weapon, then your battle that day might have been more difficult. Daphne didn't explain the second piece of equipment too much, because the principle of that piece of equipment was obvious after just looking at it. It was just a modified electromagnetic gun. It can only reach the top of Jia Yan's head. Of course, although this design is unsightly, it can undoubtedly solve the problem of his long-range attack methods. But imagine that scene. He already had a long needle, and then a lightweight cannon more than 10 meters long appeared above his head. It's so ridiculous to think. As for the third set of designs, it is a somewhat eye-catching design. Coming from a young biology enthusiast, De Funi wanted to laugh when she saw the third set of designs. Think about it, if this design is really used, even if the cost is not discussed, when the mosquito fights, the opponent will probably die laughing with his huge body dressed in glittering gold. After all, ordinary metal has no protective effect on the Starry Sky class, and their attacks can easily destroy most metals. And powerful metals will definitely increase the burden on the user. Therefore, after reaching the heaven-level powerhouse, the majority of powerhouses in the Starry Sky have a common rule, that is, not to use too many metal equipment and weapons. But Jia Yan seems to have a different feeling about this set of equipment. He stayed there for a long time, and he was a little relieved after seeing the biologist's explanation. Daphne's ridicule was indeed correct. The designer claimed that the metal he wanted to use could not be found in the transport ship, but instead used a metal called Urxi 00279. This kind of metal is generally used by warships. Not only is it extremely strong, but if the brainwave power is attached to it, it can easily produce a concussive effect with the metal. A corresponding defensive force appears. Yes, this kind of metal is what is used on the surface of most battleships. Every time Jia Yan attacks those battleships, strong resistance appears on the surface of the battleship. It is also the defensive power of this metal that emerges on the surface of the battleship after energy conversion. But Jia Yan saw this. He was already shaking his head. This designer is indeed a young man. He is a bit idealistic. Not to mention that if he wants to build similar equipment, the technical difficulties required are not the least bit difficult. He only talks about the metal of Urxi 00279, let alone Earth City doesn't have it now, and even if it did, no one would be willing to use it to build Jia Yan's full-body equipment. You know, the equipment designed by this designer is completely made of 00279. In fact, the metal used in a warship is like a silk thread that surrounds the entire hull. It is enough. To build the designer's equipment, you need 00279, the amount required for 500-meter warships. This is an incredible wealth. Haha, and through some surgical means, he wants my needle to be able to spray long-range attacks. After Jia Yan looked at another huge creation of this designer, he couldn't help but think in his heart. About to laugh. Suddenly, his smile suddenly stopped at this moment. No. The needle sprays long-range attacks, this idea is actually good. Jia Yanfu's eyes seemed to have a hint of inspiration that he had never thought of before. Yes, he had never thought about it. In the past, Jia Yan used the mouth needle as a tool for eating or something else, but now he actually does not have much need to eat. If these organs can play other roles, especially it can be used as a cannon that launches long-range attacks, which is also a good use. But if you want to do surgery, you should stay away from it. In fact, the second set of designs can be combined with his idea. It is to install a cannon above the mouth needle. After I equip it, it can also pass through the mouth. The tactile feeling of a needle for aiming can greatly improve shooting accuracy. Thinking of this, Jia Yan looked at the 3 design drafts in front of him, and the sparkle in his eyes gradually fluctuated. Why should he follow the ideas of these professionals? You must know that he is an evolved beast. After getting the design drafts of these biologists, he can go to Shiyuan to modify or merge them, and then come up with a set of equipment that is truly suitable for him. He can even integrate this set of equipment with his own concept of mutation to provide a direction for the next mutation. When the time is right, they may even become the nutrient for his mutation, just like the previous set of metal exoskeletons. At that time, it was because he devoured the metal exoskeleton that his defense mutated and became stronger. In subsequent life and death crises, he escaped disaster time and time again. That's right. I combine the advantages of these biologists to design a set of equipment that best suits me. The smile in Jia Yan's heart finally bloomed. Daifuni, please leave these design drafts here. After 24 hours, I will give you a most suitable equipment design plan. Daifuni suddenly heard Jia Yan's voice. I couldn't enter the background fortunately, I finally entered before 12 o'clock, sorry for the late release. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel, wish you happiness and luck, please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito, author, Bulletin U. Chapter 488. Big Mosquito, want to design your own equipment? Daphne was stunned. But she didn't say anything. Maybe she was stronger than Jia Yan in terms of planning, but in terms of combat, Big Mosquito was the real expert. After explaining these two things, Jia Yan looked at Daifuni's figure leaving. Huh. The big stone that had been pressing in his heart was finally let go. As a suspicious being, Jia Yan still doesn't have much trust in this woman even after everything he did to Daifuni. After all, he has experienced too many things since he became a mosquito. No one knows that he has never. How much has this little kid sacrificed to reach this level? No one knows how much he doubts all things. But until today, Daifuni's series of performances have finally been accepted by Jia Yan. Maybe there is still a little defensiveness in her heart, but Jia Yan can already feel her love for the Earth. What the other party wants is for this Earth army to completely reach the Milky Way, bring protection to the Earth, and even assist the Earth in developing technology that allows the Earth to enter the starry sky. To be honest, Jia Yan didn't trust her at all before because he didn't think a person could change like this. However, Daifuni's performance still moved him. After all, Daphne, who had done so much, was not pretending at all to him. Well, Daphne also said that it hasn't been long since the construction of the gravitational wave equipment is completed. Even if the materials are hard to find, but it is completely created, if it can barely be started, it won't take more than 1 month of Earth time to start. Jia Yan thought of this, and his heart was filled with expectations again. It didn't seem like a long time to arrive at the gray-yellow star, but it actually took at least many months. If the time spent in gravitational waves was included, Jia Yan even suspected that it might have been several years after the Earth. Got it? Because the theory of gravity in gravitational waves cannot be understood by common sense. Daphne told me before that maybe we came to the Shoals galaxy through gravitational waves. It didn't take long, but it's entirely possible that it took a lot of time. So it's urgent to return to Earth now. Jia Yan thought for a while, and his relaxed mood became tense again. He couldn't help in assembling the equipment. He knew what he could do, so he forced himself to immerse himself in it and began to research his future equipment. Time gradually passed. 24 hours may not be a short time, but for a research, it was definitely too little. Fortunately, Jia Yan is not a scientific researcher. He just followed his innermost thoughts and used Daphne's holographic brain to draw a rough sketch and wrote it in Ostal language below. After the explanation, I believe those biologists and scientists will understand his words. It didn't last long, but it was more difficult than a battle. Jia Yan found that he hadn't used his mind like this for a long time. He used his front feet to click on the small screen. After completing the last stroke, he finally completed the design. A sketch appeared on the holographic screen that looked like it was drawn by a 3-year-old child, but Jia Yan still planned out the general outline. Even if he couldn't understand the sketch, he could understand the principles of the structure through the description on one side. Jia Yan smiled self-deprecatingly, believing that the experts would understand. He ordered the workers on the side to bring Daphne's holographic brain to several scientists. After that, he was ready to crawl down and have a good rest. Master Assassin, long time no see. Suddenly, a strange voice appeared near Jia Yan's body. Jia Yan's head seemed to be shaken. The sense of crisis all over his body spurted out almost uncontrollably. The surging sense of crisis caused his whole body to be instantly covered with a strange azure color. This sound is simply too terrifying. As a powerful starry sky level expert, Jia Yan has reached a point where he is almost proud of the star field. Even a top being like Odao can hardly kill him. But the appearance of this strange sound was completely elusive, and Jia Yan couldn't even tell whether it was the power of brain waves. However, through the energy of sound, if the opponent has malicious intentions towards him, he does not need to make a sound, he only needs to launch a direct attack. Jia Yan may not even have time to cover the azure defense, and he will be seriously injured directly. Who? With a hint of panic, he raised his huge head and looked around in all directions. What kind of mysterious powerful man is he? Even without looking at the actual combat power, Jia Yan can already confirm that the opponent is definitely more powerful than Odao. And in this starry sky, there are not many strong men who can directly surpass Odao's level of power, as far as Jia Yan knows. Even Jia Yan couldn't guarantee whether he could save his life if he faced him. Damn it, good death appeared at a time when Earth City was still developing. Jia Yan didn't know whether the other party was hostile or kind. But he knew that he could not let Earth City's current fleet be destroyed by the opponent. After all, he has put in so much effort, and the success of the gravitational wave device is now just around the corner. Master Assassin, I don't mean any harm. If you are willing, please come out and meet me. The ghostly voice had a faint feeling that it was coming from all directions. Jia Yan's compound eyes flickered several times, but he didn't think too much after that. Head outside the transport ship. The fleet has already started to slow down at the moment it is set to approach several alien settlements. I don't know why now, but it has stayed in a vacuum of nothingness. Perhaps it is undergoing regular power system maintenance. After Jia Yan flew out of the transport ship's hatch, he spotted a familiar figure a few kilometers away in space. The moment he saw this figure, Jia Yan's shining eyes suddenly trembled. Before seeing the other party's true face again, he thought a lot, and even guessed whether the other party would be the most powerful ones in the biochemical empire. But he never imagined that what he saw would be a powerful existence that he had seen before but didn't pay much attention to. The supreme commander of the Gray-Yellow Star Zerg tribe. It was actually the 30-meter moth monster that was as huge as Jia Yan. Jia Yan looked at the monster in a distant place in disbelief. He thought too much, but the only thing he never thought about was the existence of this strong man. It's not because he underestimated the Zerg commander, but because the other party's performance before on Grey Star or in the entire war was not outstanding. He even confronted Jia Yan with the Bullhorn commander of the biochemical empire. During the process, he didn't make a single sound. All kinds of things made Jia Yan unconsciously ignore this existence, so that it was only now that he came to it. Zerg. In this starry sky, there is the most mysterious but also the most unpredictable race. Their appearance has accompanied the biochemical empire from its rise to the present. If the national history of the biochemical empire is a history of wars on all sides, then the Zerg will always follow them, as assistants and allies, fighting together for hundreds of years. The mighty empire of the year. No one knows where the Zerg come from, and no one knows what the Zerg's purpose is. Many civilizations confessed that contact with the Zerg completely failed, and they wanted to follow the thugs behind the biochemical empire. Sometimes their combat effectiveness was completely superior to that of the biochemical empire, but they never showed their concern for the territory and the demands for resources. It seems that their existence is only to help the biochemical empire fight, nothing more. But now, Jia Yan actually saw a strong man from the Zerg tribe, appearing alone and speaking. The sense of crisis in his heart had reached a more terrifying level, but until now, he could only bite the bullet and fly gently towards the Zerg commander over there. After a while, the two were close to each other, only 100 meters away. If they wanted to attack, both sides could easily attack each other. Hello, Lord Assassin. Please forgive me for coming uninvited. After taking a look at Jia Yan, the moth monster spoke in a voice without any emotion at all. This indifferent feeling has no hostility, no arrogance, and no feeling of any emotional fluctuations. It is like a robot, but it is different from the feeling of a robot. Hello, respected Lord Commander of the Zerg. Although I am surprised by your appearance, I still welcome you. However, I do not hope that you will come to arrest us. In that case, I will not be captured without mercy. Jia Yan's compound eyes flashed, and then he responded respectfully. After all, the other party showed more respect. If others respected me, I would respect him, and he naturally responded in the same way. Don't worry, I'm not here to arrest you. If you wanted to do this, I would have done it before on the Grey Star. The giant moth also used its compound eyes similar to Jia Yan's to look at the giant mosquito monster in front of it, but after seeing the blue color on its body, the thinking look of the compound eyes became more conspicuous. Then what's the reason for your coming here? After all, other than arresting me, I can't think of any reason for you to pursue me in this vast starry sky. Please rest assured that I have no intention of arresting you. The Zerg army of Grey and Yellow Star will only act in accordance with the requirements of the biochemical empire, and I don't want to expose my strength, so you don't have to worry. I came to see you just to confirm something. The commander of the Zerg tribe looked at the faint blue look on Jia Yan's body. A different and strange light flashed through his cold expression. Oh? I don't know what it is. The Zerg commander did not respond directly to Jia Yan's words, but his compound eyes were even brighter, causing Jia Yan to be extremely vigilant and step back tens of meters. Jia Yan was really wary of this extremely mysterious monster. The timing of his appearance, the way he appeared, and his unfathomable sense of strength are all things that Jia Yan can't explain. The other party looked like he was alone, but he suddenly appeared next to the Earth City fleet. In the surrounding starry sky, there is no support fleet or any carrying equipment. It seems that he is really using the ability of his body to cross a long distance to pursue the Earth fleet from the brilliant star, and at this time he is not, instead of attacking, he said these incomprehensible words to Jia Yan. It is simply a mystery. It is no exaggeration to be prepared for this kind of existence. There seemed to be a strange light in the moth monster's misty compound eyes. Then, what made Jia Yan take a breath was that the opponent's compound eyes became a bright spot like starlight. Then the photoelectric fan flew out and rushed towards Jia Yan, as if it were the real speed of light. What? Jia Yan was shocked and wanted to retreat. But at this time, he only felt an unbelievable and powerful pressure, coming from the body of the moth monster, which was irresistible and ferocious. This power is incredible. Jia Yan has fought against so many powerful beings, but let alone seeing them, he has never even imagined that such a terrifying force could appear in this universe. It is impossible to resist, it is not powerful at a life level at all. The opponent may not even have the idea of fighting, but an invisible force that is different from the power of brain waves. It restricted the movement of Jia Yan's body as if he didn't care at all. Asshole! The alarm sounded loudly in Jia Yan's heart. The feeling of disbelief was simply unbelievable. He wanted to use his greatest strength and struggle. The azure blue light also burst out with its own dazzling color. A blue sun seemed to appear in the entire starry sky, illuminating a vast emptiness. You must know that although Jia Yan was injured in the previous battle with Grey and Yellow Star, but with the recent recovery and nutrient solution, he has made a great recovery. Even if his strength is not 100%, more than 95% of his vision has definitely been restored. This level of combat effectiveness is not much different from the strength of the complete period. But even if Jia Yan exploded like this, it was still useless. It's not on the same level at all. His struggle had no effect at all. The powerful force instantly wrapped Jia Yan like a dumpling. After that, little bits of light emerged from the eyes of the Zerg commander, and they came near the body of the Mosquito. They came directly in front of Jia Yan's head. After that, a contact. Ah! Jia Yan felt an incredible pain emerging from the top of his head. Even though I knew I couldn't show weakness at this moment, I still couldn't help but scream in my heart. I don't know what kind of power this is. In an instant, it broke through the extremely powerful blue defense. This was the first time that the blue defense was penetrated so easily. The Zerg commander over there seemed to lose a lot of power in an instant after using this little bit of energy. His aura weakened a lot in an instant, and even the power of restraint was also reduced. The force that entered Jia Yan's head directly invaded Jia Yan's head, but there was a feeling of difficulty in entering his head. Resistance. Tenacious resistance. When the Zerg commander over there saw this scene, his compound eyes suddenly lit up, and he seemed to be a little surprised. But what he never expected was that the big mosquito that he thought had been completely suppressed started roaring furiously. Ah! The sound vibrated without any hindrance in a vacuum with no air at all. The force that resembles a shockwave is so heartbreaking that it is impossible to stop it at all. But to the Zerg commander, this was nothing. What surprised him was that the big mosquito, which was restrained and seemed impossible to move at all, actually moved. Jia Yan's whole body is an extremely terrifying azure color, and his compound eyes are all blue, as if ice cubes emerging from a deep pool, emitting a quiet and cold chill. While roaring, he looked at the Zerg commander fiercely, and then his body, which seemed to be moving with great difficulty, crazily broke through the opponent's energy limitations. Although his head was in severe pain, he still shot backwards and escaped towards the rear. Go! Commander of the Zerg, right? I remember your attack this time. Jia Yan's roaring voice continued to spread in the starry sky, and the crazy meaning in his words was extremely profound. In fact, Jia Yan was so angry that since he became powerful, every battle has been smooth, but at least it has never been so embarrassing. Now he actually suffered so much damage without even understanding his opponent's attack method. It was simply it's a shame that he can't forget. Lord Assassin, I don't want to. The Zerg commander standing in the starry sky was about to explain to the distant Mosquito, but in his compound eyes that were still dotted with stars, the stars suddenly shattered in an instant. He seemed to be greatly hurt. After his body shook, his words were interrupted. The Zerg commander's aura weakened, and the stars in his compound eyes were quickly dissipating. Okay, kid. You've done enough. Suddenly, a strong and strange voice resounded in the mind of the Zerg commander. If Jia Yan could hear it, then he would definitely know that the owner of this power is the real owner of the oppressive power he felt before. But this existence did not appear here. Haha, it turns out that this remote place is really so interesting. There is another one. The voice faintly disappeared in the ears of the Zerg strongman, and the words were not completely finished at all. At the same time, a pattern that looked like a spell on the neck of the giant moth was gradually dissipating, and the moment the sound completely disappeared was the moment when the spell completely disappeared. The Zerg commander stopped chasing Jia Yan and stood respectfully, looking at the disappearing pattern for a long time. The Earth City fleet has long discovered the changes in the Mosquito. The fleet was ready to set sail. When the big Mosquito, dressed in blue and unstable in flight, crashed into the cabin, the transport ship sprayed flames and launched at full speed regardless of the consequences. Bright flames shot out, and more than 10 Earth City ships entered a frantic escape state at the same time. Ahem, I've been eating a lot these days. I'm sorry. Please subscribe to the official version, thank you. Mobile version. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 489. Even if there is only one opponent, Earth City will definitely escape. Facing this powerful man, even the assassin, who is now the strongest guarantor of the fleet, can only flee in confusion. What else can they do if they don't escape? Run away like crazy. Not long after, Earth City's newly acquired space fleet left the starfield as fast as they could, leaving not even a shadow behind. Fortunately, the commander of the Zerg Empire, the Moth Monster, did not have any thoughts of chasing. At this time, he just looked at the leaving tail flame. Looking at it thoughtfully. After a moment, the monster retreated slightly backwards. His body was like the bubbles melting into the water. In a trance, he gradually disappeared. If Jia Yan saw this scene, he would definitely stare in horror. Because the moth monster stepped into something very familiar to him. Gravitational waves. But it was a little different from the gravitational wave situation he had experienced when he came to the gray-yellow star. No one knew what it was exactly. Just like no one knows what this moth monster is approaching Jia Yan this time. What exactly is this power? In the transport ship, Jia Yan waved his front foot, enduring unbelievable pain while making all the workers around him leave. Bang 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 bang. As soon as they left, Jia Yan started twitching all over. Knocked down a pile of construction steel around him. This kind of pain was no less than the pain at the moment of his mutation. He felt that there was a faint force in his mind that was so powerful that he could not resist. It was constantly tumbling, and even these forces were still dissipating, making him the influence of this power is felt all over his body. Damn it, what kind of power is it? Jia Yan found that it did not belong to brainwave power, nor did it belong to any power he knew. Because I don't understand, I have no way to fight against it. Fortunately, the original intention of this power did not seem to be to destroy, so after Jia Yan endured it for more than 10 minutes, he found that he was slowly becoming indifferent. This kind of power is extremely strange. It is different from the power of brain waves, and I can feel that this power also contains certain scientific principles. It may even be the use of some kind of energy that exceeds the power of brain waves. When the little bits of energy in his head slowly weakened, Jia Yan was finally able to calm down and examine the situation inside his body. Obviously, this kind of power does not belong to the bright side power in this star field, and may not even belong to the power category of this starry sky field at all. Jia Yan's body felt the feeling of strength. At this time, they were disappearing quickly, but the more they weakened, the remaining products were like maggots attached to the bones, and their dissipation speed became slower. Zerg. Jia Yan chewed on the information he knew about the Zerg. A race that appears from nowhere and doesn't know what it wants to do. In this starry sky, the most mysterious race. Jia Yan pondered, and he finally discovered that this mysterious race may really be far more mysterious and powerful than what other interstellar writers knew. Let's see, he is just a commander of the Zerg army from a gray-yellow star. His real strength may exceed that of a strong man at the level of Odao. And as his close partner, Commander Ula of the Biochemical Empire, may not know about this. He was fully capable of attacking me before, and I might not even be able to resist him. But he didn't do that. Is this considered friendly or hostile? Jia Yan was a little surprised by the thoughts of the Zerg commander. Compared with other existences in the nearby star field, as a life form from the Earth, it is not that difficult for him to accept the emergence of a possibly more mysterious race, because everything in the entire starry sky has no influence on him. It is still a strange thing to him, so it is not impossible to accept the emergence of a race that is more mysterious than other interstellar civilizations. Then the one who rescued our fleet before was also the Zerg. Jia Yan thought of the warship that appeared when he encountered the Star Thieves. Although he didn't want to think that way, he still thought about whether it could be the Zerg commander. Saved them. But it's not right to think so, because the styles are different. Forget it, don't think about it if you don't understand it. I just need to know that this starry sky may be far more interesting than what I know. Thinking of all the encounters on the gray and yellow star and after escaping from the gray and yellow star, Jia Yan, the big mosquito who came to the alien starry sky for the first time, felt a sense of surprise. After all, as an earthly life, all these things, it was a magical experience for him. Okay, no matter how amazing these alien civilizations are, as far as I am concerned, as long as they do not hinder my return to Earth and do not threaten the Earth, they have nothing to do with me. Jia Yan is now and just wants to return to the Earth. After all, Daifuni told him some principles of speed and time conversion formulas. He knew through Daifuni's words that they came to Gray Huangxing's time might be much longer than expected, so Jia Yan was very worried about the safety of his family on Earth. After all, there is not only the threat of metal monsters, but also the threat of the return of Rulan civilization and Asta civilization exploration ships. For the Earth, both of these are crises that may destroy the entire human race. Jia Yan found that although the energy in his body had not disappeared, it had lost its initial huge impact. He took a long breath. If this power continued to have the severe pain effect, it would be very difficult for her. Fortunately, this possibility seems unlikely now, and this power continues to weaken. It may not be long before it disappears completely. Although this power is extremely strange, it is not traceable. After all, I can feel it. Although this feeling can only be felt through pain, being able to feel it means that there is the possibility of research. Maybe then the user never thought that there would be someone who could endure such huge pain and conduct research on this energy. Thinking of this, the luster in Jia Yanfu's eyes suddenly lit up again. Jia Yan's pain tolerance has been greatly enhanced through mutations. Even though he now feels that the energy in his head has weakened, it is not something that ordinary creatures can endure. But Jia Yan can. Every time he mutates, he spends it in such severe pain or even more pain, so for him, under such circumstances, it is possible to study the mysterious power. He is not a brainwave power, and it may not even have much to do with brainwave power. This reminds me of nothingness and desolation. Although it's hard to describe, that's really what I feel. This kind of power might have something to do with dark energy. Jia Yan's research is still continuing. Maybe the powerful being who emits this power really didn't expect that Jia Yan could study this powerful energy. But maybe even if he could predict it, he would still use it on Jia Yan. Because there is a purpose. No one knows what the purpose is. Sir, are you okay? Time flies. Just when Jia Yan finally calmly cultivated himself for a long time, a clear female voice immediately came from beside him. Jia Yan looked around and saw Daifuni standing beside her, looking at Jia Yan with a hint of concern. Jia Yan's heart trembled. How long had it been since he had enjoyed this kind of caring look? Maybe you haven't felt this since you became a mosquito. Yes, I'm fine. What's wrong? Jia Yan looked at Daifuni. Although this woman would care about him, Jia Yan knew better that she would not come to him if she had nothing to do. We are about to approach the settlement we mentioned before. I'll come over and let you know, Daifuni said. Are we almost here? Time flies so fast. Okay, I'll get ready and go out in a moment. Jia Yan was startled, and then said with a voice with the power of brain waves. Daifuni noticed that there was something slightly wrong with the brainwave power emitted by Jia Yan. A strange look flashed across her face, but she did not ask out loud, but withdrew respectfully. I didn't expect that the brainwave power has changed. It seems that I was wrong. This kind of power may actually have something to do with the brainwave power. Jia Yan stood there and thought for a while. The change in brainwave power he just spoke was exactly what he gained from studying mysterious power. The most painful time is actually the time to study that power, but Jia Yan was too late to suppress the pain at that time, and it was impossible to study it. It was not too late after that. That was when the powerful energy was ravaging Jia Yan's body. As a result, after some research, Jia Yan still gained something. Now the power in his body has almost disappeared. Only the point on his head where the moth monster originally shot the starlight power into has maintained an extremely tenacious energy there, which may not be eliminated for a while. It can't affect Jia Yan's actions or anything. Dots of stars hang on the huge black screen, and spaceships are suspended in the sky. This is a space area with no place before or after. Not long after, the largest ship in the fleet, a transport ship, slowly opened its huge hatch. Huge monsters flew out from it. The leader among them was a huge flying monster. This monster has a pair of extremely large wings. The wing membranes are crisscrossed and the edges are extremely sharp. It seems to be able to be used as a knife to cut through any solid object. He has 6 slender legs, especially the front feet, which have a sharp edge that makes people feel extremely surprised when they see it. The sharp front end is far beyond the imagination of ordinary creatures. Perhaps things in this world, there's nothing it can't penetrate. It was followed by 5 equally huge giant monsters, each of which looked ferocious, comparable to evil ghosts. Behind these powerful monsters are some slightly smaller creatures wearing space suits. One of them has a graceful figure similar to that of a human on Earth, but is far smaller than the other monsters, but it seems to be a being with a high status. Okay. Next, we will transfer to small spaceships, and they will be the 2 shabbiest ones. I hope no one will take any chances on us. Daphne's whole body was wrapped in a spacesuit. The spacesuit produced by the Starry Sky civilization was naturally not comparable to the bloated primitives on Earth. Apart from the extra helmet, he didn't feel much inflexible at this time. One by one, the powerful monsters, as well as Jia Yan's huge figure in the lead, flew lightly towards the 2 spaceships that seemed to be only 200 meters long. Not long after, these 2 slightly shabby commercial spaceships spouted flames in one direction of space and slowly accelerated, finally breaking through the speed limit and flying away. In fact, it is not very safe to leave the members of the Earth City alone in the universe. After all, there are still many resistances in the entire Earth City. However, this trip to the interstellar settlement is too important. Jia Yan and Daifuni can only take risks. Acted. The acceleration speed of the two spaceships was not very fast. Compared with other spaceships, it takes a long time to accelerate to a certain level, and by then they have reached the so-called Starry Sky settlement. Sir, most of the Starry Sky settlements were actually built by some star thieves or illegal forces. Most of them are related to the so-called indigenous forces of the former Gray and Yellow Star. Dragons and snakes are mixed inside, and any kind of situation may happen. So we still have to be more careful in the past. In a spaceship, Jia Yan huddled in a corner and listened to Daifuni's report. The 200-meter spaceship is a bit cramped for him, but Jia Yan has heard that there are many beings as large as him who live in such a small spaceship and become members of a star pirate organization. He could hardly believe that there were creatures that could survive in such a small environment. They were simply suffering. But Jia Yan didn't complain too much at this time, he just listened to Daifuni's words. The conversation didn't last long. The spacecraft trembled slightly and then slowed down. Jia Yan keenly discovered that even the two worst ships in his fleet still have a powerful buffer system. This system can minimize the overload force when decelerating during extreme speed. After all, it used to be commercial. Yes, this basic comfort device is a must. It has to be said that even if it is broken, for Earth technology, it is an incredible device that stands tall on a mountain. Jia Yan can imagine what will happen to the people of Earth if the two spacecrafts he is currently on are handed over to Earth scientists for research. The excitement. How much improvement can their technology get? Jia Yan admitted that his longing for the Earth made him miss the Earth as a whole. In the past, he might not have been so kind to people on Earth other than his family, and he might even have had some national likes and dislikes. But after spending so long in a place a few light years away from Earth, his mind has changed. Of course, all this is still based on the existence of the family on the Earth. Without this premise, Jia Yan's longing for that blue planet might be much weaker. Although it is not yet time to hand over the spaceship to the people on Earth, Jia Yan is already on the road of return. I believe it won't be long before this thing becomes a reality. Sir, the Starry Sky settlement I mentioned before has arrived. Daifuni looked out the window, then turned back and said to Jia Yan. Welcome to the Devil's Starry Sky settlement. Please stop at our designated location. There are 15 Starry Sky cannons aimed at you. Please don't have any evil intentions. Thank you. At the same time, a voice appeared on the spacecraft's public channel. Jia Yan and others know that this is the communication broadcast of the Starry Sky settlement. Every spacecraft that comes to the settlement will be notified like this. Of course, if the opponent is a large fleet or even possesses powerful weapons, then this kind of welcoming attitude will not be possible. After all, the Starry Sky settlement also belongs to a kind of force, and they are afraid of being attacked by other forces. As for Jia Yan's shabby little spaceship, forget it. Big Mosquito, Daifuni, and others filed out. Jia Yan immediately saw a huge black shadow in front of him. This is the Starry Sky settlement, there was a hint of horror in his eyes. There is no other reason, but because this so-called Starry Sky settlement is completely different from what he imagined. Before, Jia Yan thought that the so-called Starry Sky settlement might be a small meteorite belt or something else, but now that he saw it, he knew that was not the case at all. This is not a small planet, but a small planet at all? Jia Yan looked at the huge asteroid in front of him in surprise. This asteroid was almost 100 kilometers in diameter and had an irregular rhombus shape. However, it was covered with densely packed houses, and some could be seen as shops at a glance. The place. The asteroid is entirely wrapped in something that looks like glass. Outside the glass, there are some large and small spacecraft suspended in the sky, and an artillery system that looks like it is not easy to mess with. It also seems to have rules of arranged. This settlement, which looks like a small planet, has an extremely large port-like building, and it is not inside the asteroid, but built in the starry sky, with spaceships docked there. At this moment, there are no less than 200 to 300 spaceships docked there. After Dave Filoni ordered the spacecraft operator to dock the spacecraft at the designated position, she stood together with Jia Yan. Alien civilization is so powerful. Even if it is just a small so-called starry sky settlement, this is the first time I have seen such a place. It is unbelievable. Dave Filoni also expressed her feelings for this Davir settlement. Go in. The Earth City group did not stay in the starry sky for long, and drifted towards the entrance of the starry sky settlement one by one. Davir. It's quite similar to the name of our transport ship. I wonder if it was built by the descendants of the so-called Grey and Yellow Star natives. Mobile version. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 490. Jia Yan thought of the name of a huge transport ship in the Earth City fleet, and couldn't help but make some guesses about this settlement. However, this matter had no impact on him. After changing this thought, he followed Dave Filoni and entered the entrance. The entrance is actually a huge door opened on the surface glass covering the entire asteroid. Because there is no gravity in a vacuum, it doesn't matter even if the door seems to be upside down. The gate is about 70 or 80 meters long and wide, which is more than enough for Jia Yan to pass through. After entering a long passage, Jia Yan saw an inspection window similar to the Earth's customs. More than a dozen staff members and 5 or 6 individuals of similar stature to Jia Yan and the others were waiting here. When they saw that Jia Yan and other creatures were so huge and seemed to be powerful, each of those huge individuals had serious expressions. Pay the money and tell us your entry arrangements. We will see if we can grant you an entry permit depending on the situation. An official-like existence did not show any indifference to Jia Yan and other monsters. After all, the strength of this team is extremely powerful. They didn't mean to look down upon it. We are entering to buy some necessities, etc. I'm sure your settlement won't refuse. A strong man next to Jia Yan who had been in the starry sky before spoke at this time. And he took out a black card and handed it to the official. Fortunately, this creature has experience, otherwise other beings without relevant experience would definitely reveal that they are not stars. Although I am not afraid, it is a trouble after all. The official interacted with the strong man who spoke, then took the black card and slid it into a square device in his hand. It seems the transfer has been completed. Then he turned back, looked at Jia Yan and others, and nodded hesitantly. Okay, I hope you will be more honest after entering, and remember that our internal defensive artillery fire will be aimed at you at all times. Understood. Jia Yan all responded, and then he passed through the other side of the gate and truly entered the settlement. These guys are very strong. A monster with at least heaven-level strength said solemnly after Jia Yan and other beings passed by. Don't worry, they don't dare to cause trouble, but we have to report this matter to the superiors. After all, this group of people is also a huge threat. Each of the teams that may be at the top of the sky level actually rides in such a shabby commercial vehicle ship. Obviously their main fleet has not come. The official was also very solemn. Regardless of whether these customs officers were frightened or not, Jia Yan and others still passed through the customs and entered the Devir settlement. There's a little gravity. Jia Yan entered this place and found that his body sank forward. However, he was not embarrassed. Except for some research types who were not very powerful, the other Earth City characters also stood firm after shaking. This is a powerful point of the settlement. They have been able to build a gravity system of a certain strength. Although this system is better than nothing, the gravity may be weaker than the moon of the solar system, but gravity is gravity. Creatures that have never lived in the universe cannot understand the dependence and desire for gravity. Some creatures that are wanted and cannot stay on various large planets sometimes spend a lot of money just to experience the feeling of gravity. Just to enjoy it. However, Jia Yan and others had just come out of the gray-yellow star and could not feel such emotions yet, so they walked forward without any strangeness at this time. Adults, don't you know what you need? The little one can serve you and save the adults time. A 1-meter-long monster that looked like a centipede swam out from the side, its brainwaves sounded. Rise up thoroughly. Although Earth City does not have much funds, it is still a force, and the gold and silver collected previously are not too small, so it is okay to at least ask a local creature to lead it at this time. So under Jia Yan's instruction, the strong man who was familiar with the art hired the centipede monster. After walking out of the door, there was a hall about 200 to 300 meters in radius. There were several detection equipment in the hall. Under the leadership of the monster, Jia Yan and others got through safely. It has been more than 100 years since our Daewir settlement was established, and the leader is the son of the strong indigenous man of the gray and yellow star, Lokov, so he has a high reputation in the starry sky. The centipede monster raised half of its head. Height, walking on hundreds of feet while saying these words. Jia Yan and others listened to his words while walking, but they could not expose themselves to the forces of Earth City to the other party's secret inquiries. Knowing the recent events of Earth City in the Grey Star, it can be said to be a shocking case. There are many forces waiting in the starry sky to get their information and come to rob them. After all, a fleet without any warships to guard it, and a fleet that is rumored to have a lot of looted supplies, is definitely a favorite in the eyes of all forces. The centipede monster obviously had no intention of asking further questions. Through his explanation, it was learned that this Daewir settlement has a population of no less than 10 million, but most of them are floating population, and less than 20% are ordinary residents. But even so, it is still an unbelievably powerful force. You are just parked in the starry sky, won't those civilizations from the gray and yellow stars come to attack? Jia Yan finally couldn't help it and asked this question. The centipede monster looked at Jia Yan very strangely, but when he saw Jia Yan's huge body that could easily crush him to death with one front foot, he trembled and answered quickly. Sir, the combat effectiveness of our Daewir settlement is not as simple as it seems on the surface. After more than 100 years of hard work, our defense facilities have become extremely powerful. If they want to come and attack, they can do it without using a large army. Impossible. You must be aware of what is going on in the gray and yellow star. If too many troops are wasted on us, the interests of those civilizations in the gray and yellow star cannot be guaranteed, so they turn a blind eye to our settlement. This is what we call ourselves. One of the reasons for the top settlement. Just as Jia Yan was about to ask something more, De Funi's voice continued to explain in his ears. The starry sky settlement does not exist secretly on the Shoal star. They have no less than 10 of them, and each of them is a strong person. Coupled with the complex situation in the gray and yellow star, those civilized fleets will not attack in a thankless manner. Sometimes they will even cooperate with settlements to carry out some things that are difficult for civilization to handle. Also, sir, please stop asking these basic questions. They are too eye-catching. I can explain to you anything. Jia Yan was a little hesitant. After all, it was De Funi's first time to come to this starry sky, but she had already done her homework, and Jia Yan himself was so obsessed with becoming stronger that he didn't understand these things. However, he did not become angry, but nodded calmly. When they walked out of the building, they saw in front of them a bustling scene composed of countless houses and creatures. However, this situation has been seen in outer space, and it is not comparable to the cities on the gray-yellow star. Just because it appears in an asteroid, it always makes Jia Yan sigh with emotion. All the life forms in Earth City followed the centipede monster and, under his leadership, they came to some material sales points. In this irregular asteroid, which is only about 100 kilometers in diameter, there are no less than 50 or 60 shops of various sizes selling supplies, and many of them are officially opened by the Devier settlement. Although the prices are still relatively expensive, but there are certain guarantees. But Earth City needs more than just a few supplies, so we can only look for cheap ones. Your price is too cheap. If you want to buy new ones like this, I advise you to go to those second-hand stores and look for them. You may also find some old ones. A monster that looked like a turtle shook his head and said no more, talking to Jia Yan and the others. Guests, if you really don't mind second-hand goods, I can take you to some second-hand stores. Maybe you can find something suitable for you. The spider monster also opened his mouth to help after Jia Yan and others walked out of the store. Okay, then you can take us there and have a look. In desperation, the Earth City strong monster, who was pushed out by Jia Yan and others as the temporary leader, received instructions from Jia Yan and De Funi. Agreed to the spider monster's proposal. A group of monsters continued to walk. The asteroid of 100 kilometers was extremely huge if it was just walking at a normal speed. Fortunately, after walking for more than an hour, a group of life forms came to a so-called slum area in the city. The houses here generally do not exceed 50 floors, which is extremely rare in the Devier settlement where land is extremely valuable. However, Jia Yan can easily find that some malicious looks nearby are constantly looking at them, swirling around. Fortunately, the presence of Big Mosquito and several other Earth City heaven-level powerhouses caused these eyes to look away immediately after they came into contact with them. Such a huge monster, even if it is just a battle pet, is definitely not some ordinary battle pet. If it is a strong person with intelligent life, they know what this means, then it may be a heaven-level strong person, and even if it is not, it is definitely not easy to mess with. Well, there is a gathering point of second-hand shops in front of you. It is a test of luck here. If you can find what you want, their price will not be expensive. If the quality is good, it may only be 1/3 of the new product. First, if the quality is not good, it is estimated that 1 in 10 can be bought. I hope you can find what you want. The centipede monster didn't know what Jia Yan and others wanted, but at this time, he was worried about the Big Mosquito. There was a hint of longing as they spoke. He is a pimp who has increased sales with many merchants. However, in the past, the customers he led were small fleets or even individuals who were reluctant to spend money, so he had never encountered a big spender. The customer made him rich. But these guests today seemed different to him. After all, the Big Mosquito and the other strong men were all his judgments that these creatures were unusual. When this group of Earth City creatures walked into the shop. Are you sure those people are the Earth City that caused a sensation in the Gray Star? In a dense place, a powerful existence seemed to be looming. His whole body was shrouded in gray mist, and only his bright eyes were constantly revealing. Yes, I have seen the video information of those people before. I will definitely not admit it wrong. A monster stood under this figure and responded respectfully. If Jia Yan and others were here, they would know that this guy was the official from the previous customs. At this time, the official's solemn look became more eye-catching. This monster felt that Jia Yan and other monsters looked familiar before, and then after looking through the news information I had seen before, I discovered that Jia Yan and the others were actually the most popular news protagonists in the Gray Star recently. Okay, I already know about this matter. You go down. The existence in the mist was silent for a while, and then slowly said these words. Sir, what response strategy should we use for them? My suggestion is to hand over their information to several major civilizations, and even help arrest them. After all, we have relatively friendly relations with the several civilizations on the Gray Star. The official hesitated and expressed his opinion. You don't need to worry about these things. Get down. Suddenly, the voice in the mist seemed to turn into a sudden sound. A cold snort made the official shudder, and then he reluctantly saluted slightly and retreated downwards. This guy actually attacked me. If I hadn't supported him before, how could he have become the leader of the Devier settlement? The official left, feeling resentful in his heart. He is unkind, so don't blame me for being unjust. Thinking of this, the official left quickly. And the existence in the mist was not aware of the official's inner thoughts at all. At this time, he was just chewing on the arrival of Jia Yan and other creatures. Earth City, the assassin, actually came to my settlement. Interesting. Not long after, this dense land suddenly disappeared. A huge monster stepped out with its big feet and headed towards the outside world. Adults, take a look at my place. This place is definitely the best second-hand goods in Devier settlement. Come here and take a look. There is definitely what you want here. Don't leave, sir. Jia Yan and others were walking in a ruin-like place. They felt a little incredible about what they saw in front of them. In this area, the so-called Starry Sky second-hand goods dealers were actually like small vendors on the ground. Piles of junk-like items were piled up on the floor for guests to pick from. They range from broken aircraft to small daily items. Almost everything is involved here, and some creatures who don't look very rich are walking around here, picking out what they want. But even among these crowds, the existence of Jia Yan and others is extremely eye-catching, because not every monster has the huge body of Jia Yan and others. Compared with those monsters that only have a few huge monsters at the top, monsters like Jia Yan have to be careful not to step on things when walking on the road, which makes the eyes of the second-hand vendors all shine. The strong represent wealth. If they can do a piece of business, it will definitely be comparable to ordinary business. The share may even take a few days or even a few months. Jia Yan and others finally stopped at a second-hand dealer. Although this store didn't look any different, they were led here by the centipede monster. Jia Yan and others don't care if the other party offers any rebates or something, as long as they can buy enough supplies they need, they don't care. In fact, they all know that in this asteroid settlement, it may be difficult to get the supplies they want. After all, they are the supplies needed by a huge fleet. Daphne's ultimate goal is to lead this fleet into the solar system in 1 month. The supplies needed like that cannot be gathered in one settlement. After all, it is just a settlement, even if this settlement is the largest in Shoal Star. And this time I came here just to visit the places and learn about the customs and knowledge of these settlements, and then I can make drastic purchasing plans. Sir, I have everything here, from second-hand spaceships to life regulators. Everything is available here, and the price is fair and the quality is guaranteed. It is definitely the best second-hand item. Please have a look. The person who greeted Jia Yan and the others was an Asta man, but this Asta man was missing an arm. At this time, he waved his other arm and greeted Jia Yan and others warmly. The pile of goods behind him formed a large circle of 20 meters in diameter. However, in Jia Yan's opinion, these goods are just a collection of materials picked up from space. Of course, professionals are responsible for sorting out supplies, and Jia Yan can just watch from the sidelines. Isn't this an oxygen production machine? But it's too small for us to use. A member of Earth City saw a square machine about 5 meters wide and high in the material, garbage, mountain, and his eyes widened. After it was bright, it became dark again. Oh no no no, the one-armed Asta man quickly waved his hand and came to the front of the machine. Look, this was picked up from the wreckage of a warship. No, the dismantled things are not even produced by our Shoal's planet. You know what you know, right? This thing just arrived a few days ago. It comes from a 200, 500 meter class battleship. It is probably a product of the Asta or Ronglan clan. Who knows, anyway, this is a good thing. The testers have already tested it and it can work. And in theory it can provide the oxygen of a 1 kilometer level battleship. Look at how small it is. You must know that this is a good thing that is only equipped on the latest battleships. I feel like I've stopped subscribing a little bit, please subscribe, I've been overdoing it recently, and a good plot will come out soon, thank you. Mobile version. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 491. After hearing the Ostaman's explanation, the Earth City scientist who stepped forward to inspect touched the side of the oxygen generator, and his eyes lit up. After he stood up, he quietly retreated, came to the side of Daifuni and Jiayan, and said softly, "Sir," he admitted his mistake. "Although this manufacturing machine is indeed leaked from the military, but it is not from the Osta people or the Ronglan family, but from the biochemical empire, and the model is indeed the latest model. Things from the biochemical empire, it is well known for its durability and durability. If we buy it, we can install it on the transport ship Devier and use it with the original oxygen generation system to greatly increase the oxygen generation capacity of the transport ship." Daphne's eyes also lit up for a moment. It seems that the items from these second-hand dealers are really likely to be high-quality products. "Oh no no no. How can you offer this price? You must know that this is a regular store with after-sales warranty. It is definitely not the kind of store they open today and run away tomorrow." "What? You said you can repair it yourself?" No, we can't sell it at that price. Sell it to him, they are distinguished guests." When the one-armed Osta man loudly wanted to raise the price, a voice from behind made him stop talking. No, this is Brother Ao's shop. Others can't help Brother Ao make decisions, the one-armed Osta man argued in his mouth while looking back. Although the price of the thing he bought himself was not too high, but when he saw some sellers who might pay big prices, how could he let go of the opportunity to make a lot of money? So at this moment, he was extremely angry with the guy who spoke. But his words soon stopped. Jia Yan and others also looked at the huge body approaching. What I saw was a monster that was almost 20 meters tall. This monster had 6 legs. What was strange was that there was a crystal-like thing growing on its head. It was extremely weird. It turns out to be Lord Jinglove. Are they friends of Lord? Okay, Brother Ao will give them the lowest price. When the Osta man saw the monster, he quickly showed a flattering smile. He quickly settled the money for Jia Yan and others. The lowest price was not possible, so he just conducted the transaction according to the price proposed by the technical staff of the Earth City. This is the leader of the Dawier settlement. Be careful, it seems they already know our identity. Daifuni leaned close to Jia Yan with a solemn expression and explained softly. Don't be so nervous, everyone. If I read it correctly, this is the assassin who can fight against one of the 5 strongest men in Osta, the gun god Odao, right? With you here, I can't dare to do this in this small settlement. It is malicious to you, and this is not in line with the neutral approach of our settlement, so don't worry. The 6-legged monster opened its mouth and showed its fangs, seeming to be smiling. I am indeed the leader of this settlement. You can call me Jinglaf. So it's Mr. Jinglafu. I don't know what Mr. Jinglao wants to ask for when he comes here this time. Jia Yan was silent for a while, and then took a step forward. His 30-meter-long body, coupled with the aura of a strong man reaching the level of the starry sky, instantly suppressed Jinglaf's aura, which was faintly superior to other strong men in Earth City, without any surprise. Jinglaf's expression moved, and he seemed to be much more fearful. However, he still smiled in a very professional manner. Master Assassin, I came to see you this time to facilitate a deal. From your actions, I can tell that your spaceship probably needs extensive modifications to reach my settlement, right? I like doing business the most. Well, How about we see if we can do business? After all, if I work hard to find supplies, I think it won't be a problem to satisfy you. Oh, Jia Yan was stunned for a moment, and then said, what do you want to trade? Money. Or material trade? What I want is not money. That thing is too empty. What I want is a spaceship. Although your forces may also be in short supply of spaceships, what I want is just one or two of them. If I can exchange 2 small spaceships for the entire ship, sir, are you also willing to refit the team? This is a good deal. Jing Laf stretched out his long tongue and gently licked the corner of his mouth. It was obvious that this guy liked doing business very much. Okay. I'm willing to trade, Jia Yan agreed without thinking for long. Next, more professional people naturally discussed the transaction list with Jing Laf. Daphne is also involved, because she is the only one who knows that Earth City wants more than just modifications. If the entire fleet wants to sail to the solar system, the supplies it will need will be astronomical. Daphne is here to see if she can get what she needs. Energy is something that every force is in short supply, and for Earth City's current fleet size, it is even more of a shortage. Jinglaf obviously doesn't want to sell too much energy, so this will be a long negotiation and dispute. Seeing that he seemed to be of little help, Jia Yan simply walked out of the negotiation mansion where Jinglaf had arranged for them to enter and took a stroll in the settlement city. Powerful life forms are generally very huge. Jia Yan can basically only walk on the main streets, and compared to almost all monsters, his body is larger, which also means that his strength is also incomparable. Along the way, although there were malicious glances everywhere, after lingering on Jia Yan's strong and powerful body, they dared not look again. Huh? That's a library there? There is such an institution in the settlement. Jia Yan saw a huge building from a distance. It was labeled as an institution like a library in several languages including Asta. As for his own knowledge reserve, Jia Yan already feels that he is somewhat lacking through some recent events. I didn't pay attention to these things before, but now I can think of ways to supplement them. So he walked slowly over. This is an official so-called library founded by the official in a settlement, but this is what Jia Yan literally translated into the earth through the Asta language. This library does not have paper, but a library of various sizes. A smart brain is built here. If you choose a certain book, just pay and download it to your smart brain. Jia Yan also owns a smart computer, which is a good model. I just haven't had time to study it and know the general operation. He entered the tall building and immediately occupied more than half of the interior space by himself. This, sir, alas, several administrators in the library stopped talking when they saw Jia Yan cracking the ground with his feet. You must know that the current giant mosquitoes may be the largest in the settlement. Just by looking at their appearance, you can tell that they are not easy to provoke. After all, such a huge size is at least the sky level, or even the peak of the sky level. That is the top powerhouse in the settlement. They can't afford to offend him at all. After Jia Yan briefly looked at the library rules, he stopped in front of the largest intelligent computer. However, this maximum was still a bit small for him. He carefully controlled his brain with brainwave power and inserted it into a slot of the large brain. Suddenly, a huge holographic screen of more than 10 meters appeared in front of him. Jia Yan stretched out his front foot and touched the frame of the screen. He saw that the virtual screen immediately changed shape and height according to his touch. After adjusting to the best angle, he started watching. This is some basic theory and basic technology about the process of civilization. Although it is useless to me, it is also outdated for basically all interstellar civilizations, but it still cannot be found on regular planets such as gray and yellow stars, because it is an advance the secret of civilization. Good stuff, definitely useful for the Earth. Jia Yan first discovered some information on advanced civilization technology, social research, etc., and his eyes suddenly lit up. If Daifuni and the others come to get this information, they will definitely find more easily than Jiayan. However, places like Da'ie settlement may never come again in the future. Only this kind of half-black and half-white force can. If you find more in-depth information, Jiayan will naturally not miss it. After setting these into the shopping basket, Jiayan continued to move with his front feet, and the screen scrolled on the holographic screen. Due to the increase in strength, Jiayan's thinking and movements are beyond the ability of ordinary creatures to catch up. At this time, he concentrated a little, so his browsing became extremely fast. The holographic screen has a shielded viewing angle, so it is difficult for the outside world to detect what he is looking at. Brainwave Power System Book. Great stuff. Jiayan found useful information again, this time it was a brainwave power system book. Although his brainwave power has already entered the room, and may even be more powerful than some star-level experts, but after all, it has not been systematically studied. Maybe these things will not have much effect on him now, but Jiayan still purchased them so that he could at least study them in the future. He even had an idea. That is, after returning to Earth, this material and scientific and technological information will be handed over to the people on Earth. If people on Earth can also emerge with strong brainwave power, even though the process of becoming stronger may be extremely long, it is still a good direction for progress. And who knows what the brainwave talent of the people on Earth is? Maybe the talent is so strong that some Earth-level or even heaven-level experts will appear soon. Of course, this is just Jiayan's delusion. He will not take this extravagant hope seriously. After all, in those interstellar civilizations, the talent of brainwave power is not so easy to obtain. Books about evolved beasts. Still banned books. Suddenly, Jiayan's eyes lit up after browsing the article about evolved beasts. Buy without hesitation. After that, he moved his front feet intermittently. The huge holographic screen was really good. Jiayan didn't play with his brain before because the holographic screen was too small and uncomfortable for him to operate. Now this one is huge enough, making him had a great time. Soon, Big Mosquito's shopping cart was already full of everything. It could be said that it was all-encompassing. There were some books of each kind. Maybe most of these were basic knowledge, and there were even some travel notes and novels, even though Big Mosquito was not interested in these novels due to cultural reasons. Don't understand. He bought so much, covering all aspects. 10,000 Asta yuan. When paying the bill, Jiayan was stunned. Yes, sir. Because many of the books you purchased are explicitly prohibited from large-scale proliferation in interstellar civilizations. For example, this one, on the further development of nuclear energy. And this one, how the basic interstellar industry was developed. And this. The library staff hurriedly explained to Jiayan one by one that these were the most expensive books. After all, some books were indeed banned. Although they dared to sell them here, they did not dare to blatantly sell them at ultra-low prices. After all, that was really true. It spreads and is purchased by many small junior civilizations, which is definitely not allowed by those advanced civilizations. And sold at a high price, low-level civilizations can't afford it even if they sell iron. Don't look at Jiayan and the others, they can still afford the price easily, but this is the gold and silver brought by the Mosquito's supernormal combat power. Civilization, it is difficult to even enter the starry sky, let alone have so much money. Of course, these books are forbidden, but they are not extremely important. It is impossible for the settlement to possess truly important books. Give your leader Jinglaf a message, saying that I am an assassin, and see if he is willing to give me a discount. Jiayan is not willing to pay such a large sum of money for these virtual books. He believes that Jinglaf, who is trading with Earth City, I would be willing to give you a discount. Yes, my lord. When they heard that this powerful man was actually related to the top leader of the settlement, the staff suddenly became more respectful. Sir, Lord Jingluf said that these small things will be treated as gifts in the transaction. If you still need them, you will receive a 50% discount on other books. Not long after, the staff member ran back again respectfully. No need. Jia Yan shook his head. It seems that this guy is still very good at doing things. He walked out of the library, and behind him were deep footprints that made the staff cry. Sir, the deal has been basically finalized. 2 150-meter class spaceships, plus most of the useless materials, will be exchanged for basically complete modification materials and about 80% of the energy required for long-distance flights. This has exceeded my expectations. I wonder what the adults think. Daphne's voice came through the communicator. Tell me more about the contents, Jia Yan said calmly. 5 hours later. 2 unattractive-looking spaceships shot out towards the sky. Not long after they flew away, some cargo spaceships from the Devil's Settlement began to arrive one after another, and emergency loading began. Piles of huge supplies were loaded crazily into the cargo spacecraft as if they were free of charge. Hey, this guy Jinglaf has completed another big deal. He has always been able to complete similar deals recently, which is really enviable. Some of the trading spaceships flying in the Devier settlement looked at Julaf's trading spacecraft with envy. Looking at the scene of shipment, they felt extremely envious. But a transaction of this level is not that huge for them, and for Jinglaf, it may be just a decent deal. There were just 2 spaceships. Compared to the cargo spaceships docked outside the settlement, they were completely insignificant. But for Earth City, these things are absolutely earth-shattering changes. The materials they need to transform the spacecraft are coming soon. Sir, this transaction is so timely. Our oxygen crisis and food crisis were coming soon, but now it can be said to have solved our urgent needs. We even used unused materials in exchange for an extremely scarce item in the interstellar world. The nutrient solution manufacturing assembly line is a controlled material rarely seen in ordinary transactions. With it, the future population food problem can be reduced. Regarding the success of this operation, even Daphne, who never liked to laugh, was full of smiles. Her charming smile made the dark space faintly brighter. You did a good job. Jia Yan also rarely praised the negotiators. No. This is all your credit, sir. You must know that Jinglaf has always praised you, sir. He has asked us implicitly more than once if we are willing to cause some trouble to several major civilizations. I guess he wants to restore the glory of his parents and make the natives rule the Grey Star again. Daphne shook her head. No matter what his thoughts are, he will have nothing to do with us in the future. This place will soon become a thing of the past for us. Jia Yan sighed softly and asked Jiyuan to solve the problem of grievances and grievances. The entire starry sky was like this, and he didn't want to get involved too much. That's right. When this batch of materials is in place, the gravitational wave equipment that I originally estimated would take a month to build will be reduced to about half a month. By then, it will be the day we return to Earth. After hearing Jia Yan's words, De Funi was also a little excited. Half a month? Jia Yan was stunned for a moment, then looked deeply at the deep starry sky. Earth, Daddy, Mommy, little sister. I'll be back soon. Adults, welcome back. The 2 dilapidated spaceships traveled very fast and arrived at an area of starry sky surrounded by nothing. Here, the spaceships, with almost all power turned off, docked quietly. Seeing Jia Yan and others returning, voices of surprise and expectation came from these spaceships. They did not take advantage of the 2 adults to leave to cause trouble or rebel. All life forms in Earth City were almost contained at this time. We are back. A large amount of supplies will be delivered soon. Tell everyone to stand by and prepare for the exchange of supplies and hull modification. Next, it will be a moment of great change for our Earth City fleet. Daphne gave a slightly joyful command. Not long after, the two spaceships stopped, and Mosquito and Delphine quickly entered the largest transport ship of Devi. At this time, the general mobilization has already begun in each ship. Not long after, under the mobilization of the two top officers, a group of intelligent creatures who could only rely on Earth City began to divide their labor. Not far away, the first handover spacecraft for the Devi settlement has arrived. In the book, it only takes half a month to return to Earth. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 492. Compared to the relatively small scale of transactions, the population and mobility of Earth City are definitely surprising. The energy that explodes when hundreds of thousands of lives take action is not that simple. When those cargo fleets that had not been told the identity of Earth City docked with Earth City, they found that there were countless human figures inside, and life forms were swimming out quickly. They were simply shocked. Generally speaking, even if this is considered a large-scale handover, the two sides will dispatch no more than 1,000 intelligent creatures at most. After all, the human cost cannot be calculated so simply. But here in Earth City, it is simply densely packed with countless people. Don't these guys want to attack us? Every member of the cargo ship looked at the scene in front of them in fear. But they were not attacked. The unloading and handover was extremely fast. The busy tens of thousands of Earth City beings wearing spacesuits even helped unload the first batch of trading goods taken out by Earth City into the other party's cargo ship. This scene finally made the scene. The members of the cargo ship who were involved in the transaction felt a little relaxed. The Devi settlement adopted a batch transportation method. After all, it was the first time for both parties to contact each other, so they both had a little bit of caution. Earth City only allows the opponent to send out one transport ship at a time. If other ships or warships approach, they will set off and escape. Naturally, the business cannot continue. The same is true for the Devil's settlement. They cannot believe Earth City. In fact, even though Earth City has been very careful in testing, the other party still has 3 warships cruising in a distant distance. As long as this side the trading spaceship sounds an alarm, and they will approach fiercely. Fortunately, no accidents happened. The Earth City naturally wanted to conduct a good deal, and Devil's side did not want to offend a force with a starry sky-level existence. Even if this force does not seem to be a good player in space warfare, as a big force that has existed for a long time can never take too many risks. After all, there is no loss in this deal for the Devi settlement. The transaction went smoothly, one ship after another, as if it was agreed upon. The Devil's settlement pulled the agreed supplies ship by ship to the fleet here in Earth City. Fortunately, there is time interval, otherwise I really don't know how to stack such a huge amount of supplies. In fact, these materials are really not surprising, because most of them are infrastructure items, such as special steel, or other lowest level things such as lines or partitions, but there are 1 or 2 pieces of equipment such as nutrient solution assembly lines mixed in, oxygen generator and other slightly higher end things. Of course, these things are the real valuable things, but the huge number of other things still far exceeds the amount of these small devices. Earth City is bleeding a lot. However, being able to exchange 2 warships and a large amount of useless materials that are not needed in exchange for these urgently needed materials may be a profit for Earth City, but it is also a good deal. Okay, this is the last ship of supplies. Now you should deliver the 2 spaceships I mentioned to me, right? When the last bit of supplies was accepted by the busy Earth City members, the ship that traded supplies gently retreated back, and then a communication sound from Jinglaf came from inside. "We are ready, please accept it. Here is the handover from Daphne." There is no way. Although the number of spaceships has been reduced by 2 again, making the population of Earth City become crowded again, there is no way at this time. Looking at the 2 empty spaceships over there, the manpower sent by Jinglaf quickly drove away, and the Earth City side also turned on the engines urgently. Lord Assassin, you must be going on an interstellar voyage, right? Jinglaf is here to wish you a happy journey. I hope there will be opportunities to meet in the future. Okay, I hope you will take care of yourself too. Jia Yan also responded here. After that, 2 spaceships were lost, and the Earth City fleet was reduced to only 11 spaceships. They decisively sprayed out tail flames. Electricity shoots into the distance. The trading spaceship here stood silently in the pitch-black darkness for a long time, and then gradually disappeared towards the rear. Along with it, there are 3 warships that are ready to fight at any time, but now it seems that they don't need to fight. Jinglaf is a very good trading partner. This is the first time since I founded Earth City that I have felt the kindness of others. He is a good guy, isn't he? Jia Yan looked at the starry sky behind where there was no shadow of the spaceship, and said calmly. Yes, sir. In fact, there should be a lot of similar beings in the starry sky settlement. They are not those star thieves. After all, they still have to give some credit. But if our strength is not so great, I believe they will do this to us. There is no psychological burden for the act of a star thief, so after all, one's own strength is the most important thing. De Funi stood proudly next to Jia Yan, with a curvy figure and fiery red hair. Show a different kind of charm. Jia Yan did not reply, but looked at the life forms behind who were busy integrating supplies. Only then did Jia Yan realize that some of the creatures in Earth City began to show feelings of happiness. It's not that Jia Yan hasn't noticed the feelings of these members all along, but never before has he understood it as well as he does now. These creatures don't really ask for much, they just want a place to survive. And with hundreds of thousands of creatures gathered in 2 small transport ships, some creatures may not even have room to stretch their legs. You must know that even if there is a complete space to accommodate them, but 2 transport ships with a length of 2 kilometers, plus 1 with a length of 1 kilometer, the space that can be accommodated is really very small, not to mention that there is still a fifth of it. Around 2, it needs to be a space for hoarding supplies. In order to save space and maximize the activity area, over a few days, the transport ship was compressed to the maximum extent. The 10 floors of the 2-kilometer transport ship have been arranged with great effort, and I wish there were several layers of space on each floor. But even so, all the creatures in Earth City still work without too many complaints. Maybe it's because they are in the universe, and they have nowhere to go even if they want to, and they don't have the ability to defeat Jia Yan even if they want to resist. But Jia Yan thinks that deep in the hearts of these ordinary members, maybe they just want a real person. The final destination. Earth City has successfully escaped from the huge prison of the gray-yellow star. These ordinary creatures will never be able to leave the planet in their lifetime, and they may even never be able to escape from the so-called dark corner of the gray-yellow star in the Golden Desert. But Jia Yan brought them out, and now each of these creatures has a little sense of identity. Maybe these alone are not enough to make the rule of the mosquito deeply rooted in the hearts of the people, but as long as this continues, one day it will usher in transformed. De Funi, please go over and help. I believe you will give me good news in half a month. Yes. Watching De Funi leave, Jia Yan's heart was confused and he didn't know what to look for. It seems that I got something, but it seems that I got nothing. A space that is not too wide but much better than others is the small place where he lives. Jia Yan is now in this place, staying quietly without being disturbed. As a monster with no professional knowledge and a body that is too big to get in the way, he can hardly help when building the spaceship, so he might as well use his precious time to conduct his own research. He felt that he suddenly felt a lot more emotional. Maybe it was because he heard that he would be able to return to Earth in half a month, and his mood changed. He felt that he couldn't be at peace in his heart, so he thought too much. Nothing happened anyway, so Jia Yan took out the books he had obtained and read them one by one. He lacks basic understanding of aliens and himself. I rarely have some time now, so I can take the time to study it. He is still very interested in extraterrestrial civilizations and more. Opening the smart brain he carried, a holographic screen about 2 meters in diameter appeared in front of him. It was obviously much more uncomfortable than the smart brain screen he saw in the Devil's Library. But Jia Yan has no choice. Putting aside this bad point, Jia Yan started reading. In this starry sky, the most powerful one was the Rulan Empire. Jia Yan became interested after seeing this in a history book. The Rulan Empire can be said to be a civilization that Jia Yan has known about since he was on Earth. Dave Filoni had always called it the Empire before, but it was only on the Grey Star that Jia Yan realized that the civilization was actually the Rulan civilization. However, I don't have a deep understanding of it. Only now do I know that this civilization is actually the oldest and most profound civilization empire in the starry sky. They were even many civilized colonists. However, after other civilizations continued to civilize, a great war broke out in the entire star field 5,700 years ago, wiping out the original Rulan Empire in one go and becoming the current Rulan Empire. It has become just one civilization among many. However, the foundation is still strong, and no civilization dares to underestimate it. It seems that there is a reason why Dave Filoni admires the Rulan Empire so much. This civilization can be said to be the father of almost all nearby civilizations. Jia Yan sighed with emotion, and then read about other civilizations. Compared with the not old history of civilization on Earth, the history of civilization in the stars is countless times more exciting. How did the Asta civilization escape from the fate of being enslaved by the Rulan Empire from a semi-civilized planet and gradually become powerful? How did the Ronzi clan appear? They were attacked by countless civilizations. They have been extremely stubborn since then, and they are still the worry of all powerful empires. Some civilizations whose names are known, and those whose names are unknown, have a rough understanding of their grievances and resentments. The birth of every powerful interstellar civilization is not accidental, and there are countless evocative stories in every civilization. So much so that Jia Yan was obsessed with it. Reading history books is like watching a blockbuster movie, not to mention that the background of this blockbuster is the starry sky. Jia Yan is like a sponge, constantly absorbing the knowledge in the stars. At the same time, he also has a subtle understanding of some knowledge in the stars. The journey to the stars is not that simple. Not only do you need to learn to use the instrument to identify the direction, but you also need to learn to judge the direction yourself and take self-rescue methods when the instrument is interfered with. Jia Yan became more and more interested in this aspect. After briefly learning about the history of the starry sky, Jia Yan put it aside and took out relevant books on starry sky knowledge from the huge electronic books. Gradually, Jia Yan finally responded from the noisy construction sounds at the nearby construction site. After all, the transport ship was too small. After reconstruction, a full half of it was occupied by tall life forms like them, but the sounds from the left and right continued. Passed on, noisy and noisy. Jia Yan, who entered the reading state, put these aside and indulged in the world of knowledge. E-books are great, especially the advanced smart brain with an amazing loading capacity. The built-in reading software he uses has a powerful explanation system. Whenever Jia Yan reads a difficult word that he doesn't understand well, he can move his forefoot lightly and draw a line. Give an explanation of the vocabulary. It can be said to be of great help. When Jia Yan finally felt that it was almost the same and had a sense of learning, he let out a breath. The previous reading was more about making plans for the present. That means Jia Yan is going to be in his best condition and read books about evolved beasts. He has always known that other things are false, and his own strength is the real guarantee. Among the e-books he purchased, what Jia Yan really wanted to read about himself was that although the knowledge about technology and the starry sky was important, it was far less important than the knowledge about how evolutionary beasts advance and the basis and foresight of brainwave power. Theory and other skill books. Although this knowledge may not necessarily make Jia Yan powerful, it will definitely be a huge help to him who is still ignorant about his own strength. At least when he uses power in the future, he will no longer operate instinctively, but it is to be able to understand to the greatest extent, where the power you use comes from, and what is the direction of progress in the future. After all, Jia Yan found that he could not go any further for the time being. It is not easy to improve at the starry sky level, so in addition to waiting for the next mutation, Jia Yan also had to enrich his understanding of energy. Maybe you can make yourself stronger this way. There is another more important point, that is, Jia Yan feels that it is necessary to have a deeper understanding of the energy form of the strong. Maybe he can find out the principle of the starry energy in his head that is still not clear. Jia Yan is full of curiosity about this powerful method of power that is obviously not brainwave power, but has a faint connection with it. The 11 fleets of Earth City are speeding slowly in the vast starry sky of the universe. They were still accelerating. The appearance of the entire fleet, as well as the interior of the hull, has been completely renewed. This kind of modification is not a modification of the power system or technology, so even some laymen can do it. So much so that all spaceships in the entire fleet have undergone major changes. The space is used more rationally. For the creatures living in the Golden Desert, they are all experienced in construction and transformation. Although they used to transform chariots and build living spaces, after all, they are all experiences. As long as they receive certain guidance, they can easily qualified for the task of transforming the spacecraft. It's just that space is extremely scarce. With a population of hundreds of thousands, it's simply too tight for so many spaceships whose total space is only a few square kilometers. And after so much time, due to the diversity of races in the entire Earth City and getting used to turbulent experiences, some conflicts and weird problems began to break out. First of all, the habits of many races are fundamentally different. When Daphne recruited members, she had already screened them for this. But everything can't be perfect. Those problems were just hidden before, but now that we have a little peace of mind, they begin to brew and explode. Especially the narrow living space makes the already depressed intelligent creatures of various races feel as if a ball of fire fills their chests all day long. Some originally hostile races or hostile forces in the Golden Desert gradually began to have conflicts. The rarity of entertainment methods left the creatures with nothing to do and just wandered the streets all day long. Yes, even this Earth City fleet still has streets. Daphne strives to create a more complete living space, but this wish has not been understood by the Earth City members for the time being. And there are too many creatures on the streets, because of food, or because of a little bit of past grudges and conflicts. They finally broke out when the time was about to reach the 15th day. Kill this guy. He has killed more than 20 members of our convoy before. You are the ones who are going to die. You are the ones who killed more than 30 members of our former Fuquay gang. I want revenge. The sudden shout caused the two groups of creatures to collide violently. Ah! How dare you guys come to us in a fight and seek death? Fight! Every one you kill will count as one. Finally, the creatures that had been suppressed for a long time seemed to explode into a powder keg and were about to vent all their anger. The Earth City, which had been peaceful for a long time, was suddenly transformed from a peaceful place to a place of possible chaos. As for Jia Yan and Daphne, they can only carry out bloody suppression. Otherwise, it will be impossible to stop these red-eyed fanatics. But just as the two groups that broke out first were about to suffer casualties, a melodious childish voice was transmitted through the ubiquitous sound-transmitting loudspeakers from Zishuiyuan. The sound is beautiful and beautiful, just like the oriole bird, crisp and beautiful. My family far away. 360 Search Meow by GE, Rebirth of the Starry Sky Giant Mosquito update quickly. My parents from afar. That distant family, that distant hometown. Do you know how much I miss you? The little animals running briskly under the moon, the fragrance of the soil in the green grass, the gurgling water on the earth. Everything beautiful. The noisy fighting in the city destroyed everything. The enemy's powerful warships destroyed these. I can never come back, my family, I can never come back, my hometown.